Please.
Hello, and welcome to our first podcast. I'm Dan, and I'm here with Zach. Say hello.
I have to say something.
Yeah, you have to say
I'll
hello.
be supplying your coughing for this podcast.
Yep, and Rob as well.
Oh,
Hello. And
One word.
that's all I have to say on the matter.
this is our first podcast, and it's going to be a podcast about gaming and just generally whatever we feel like chatting about. We're the guys who brought you happysalad.com a few years ago, quite a few years ago now. And yeah, and
Actually been active for 5 years now, isn't it? Something ridiculous like that.
It's been dead for a while, but we had a forum of loyal friends of Happy Salad.
Like 3 guys.
Yeah, who will hopefully be interested in this podcast, and anyone else who might be interested. So I thought we'd start with trying to figure out what to call it, though.
Fundamental.
Yeah, just drop that straight in there.
Of course, yeah.
So also, I will be supplying trains to this podcast.
Here's the ambience.
Already in the room.
Apart from me, yes, being Dan Train. But yeah, lots of trains going past Zach's window.
Other than Radio 1, they actually built over the top of a tube station, pretty much. Every now and then you get... Occasionally, yeah, they did this thing on Chris Moyle's show once where they just sort of sat there for a bit and said, let's just all be quiet for a second. It's about the time for the 10:42, and you could hear this, like... Oh, actually, that's too quiet for the microphone to pick up, but...
It's too slight for your microphone to pick up.
Yeah, but it's more of a... Hang on. In the background,
weird.
and...
You'd think they'd have insulated the studios for a start.
Yeah, but I suppose there's some vibrations you can't keep out.
That's true. But I mean...
Yeah, anyway, Citron Dementon.
A Citron Dementon. I wanted to talk about that. I mean, surely there's a tube train every minute, practically, on in the middle of where broadcasting house is. So
Yeah, it's
they'd be
every couple of minutes at most stations, isn't it? Something like that, at least.
Yeah, exactly. So having a timetable probably not that.
Insert jingle here.
Well, we could have a jingle for.
We'll just call the podcast that. Insert jingle here.
Actually, it's not that bad. No.
No, it's not.
Then again, neither is Citron Dementon. Dementon.
Yeah, can we initialize that? CDM? No, that's lame.
CDM. Yeah.
IJH.
Okay.
Insert jingle here. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was thinking.
Did you listen to the Urge this week? Yes, that doesn't work.
Or we just need to backronym it and come up with a stupid word and then apply some letters, apply some words to the letters.
Is that what it's called? Bacronyming.
Yeah,
When
yeah.
you come up with the word first and then make up what each letter stands for.
It's awesome.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. It's like those what's it called when you put two words together?
Google whacking.
Google Hack. That's when you search two words and you only get one result, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hyphenating.
Hyphenating. No,
Double barreling.
actually, yeah, squished half of one word into half of
it's
another
called
word.
something stupid, isn't it?
Yeah, beginning with P, like portmanteau or something. No, that's something to do with music, isn't it?
Yeah, portamento.
I never can remember that.
Portamento. That's
Yeah.
something like the glide between the notes, I think. Something like that.
Yeah, that's right. It's a bit like glissando, but different.
Opposite, as in
Yeah,
how much it bends, whereas glissando is just, as far as I'm aware, although Naomi will fight with me about this, how it sort of doesn't bend, it just sort of clips up to notes rather than having that smooth transition.
Right, like
That's what I think it is.
function.
Yeah.
Square wave. Yeah. That's it.
This is the best podcast ever.
We've somehow gone from tube noise to glissando. It's great.
Well, glissando, how about that? That's better. That's quite snappy.
That's semi-intellectual.
Yeah.
It's maybe too intellectual.
Yeah, maybe. So we should probably explain where Citron Dementon came from, shouldn't we? Because otherwise, it makes no sense, is it? So this is a famous.
At this rate.
No, but we should. This is the famous photograph of Zach with his head through the hatch between my old kitchen and the dining room, with his chin resting on a small jar of sliced lemons. Is that correct?
Yes.
And thus,
Yes.
Yes. I suppose we hadn't translated it for our non-French speaking cousins. Well,
It's like-
called us
like
English.
for
Yeah.
example.
Yes, but this is only translated into French using the Babelfish translator, so
So it could be a bit wrong.
It could be quite wrong. Citron de menton, and then you were trying to recall it the other day, and you were thinking pomme de menton, weren't you?
Oh yeah, and pomme de terre de menton.
Yeah, we went from chin lemons to chin apples to
And potatoes.
potatoes.
Doesn't sound quite so bad in French, does it? But in English, chin potatoes.
Pomme de terre de menton. No, is that right? Yeah.
Je suis le pomme de terre de menton.
I am the.
Yes, I agree. You are.
Yeah, pretty much. So.
Starchy.
That would be you. You'd be
Yeah. I'm tasting myself.
starchy.
Let's move on.
That could have all kinds of horrible connotations.
It sounded better in my head.
As so many things do.
Tasting yourself sounded better in your head.
Oh, it didn't sound quite so innuendo-y.
Yeah, that's a bit of a strange innuendo, isn't it? It's like, it's not really that.
Let's not delve on the matter.
It to yourself. No, delve on the matter.
Dwell. Words.
Delve into the matter, not dwell. But let's not.
No.
Let's not dwell or delve.
In potatoes, then.
Be good. Yeah, no, that's not a good name for a podcast, is it? Oh god.
Not one that has any sort of context. Not that this does at the moment.
So have we decided that Happy Salad is out of date as a name?
Oh, it still stands, but it's not exactly descriptive.
Non-relative to what we're doing, as it was when it was about here's some games we made. Happy salad.
Yeah, that's almost the strength of it, though, is that it doesn't have any
Yeah.
direct connection to the old website. So
We can use
therefore,
it for whatever the fuck we want.
yeah. So we want to use it for this. I mean, the Happy Salad podcast, is that too long-wieldy? I mean, we can't call it the Happy Cast. 'Cause
That sounds a bit hippie.
yeah, it sounds a bit.
Welcome to the Happy Salad Cast. Doesn't sound too bad.
Yeah, but
I
it
quite like
sounds like you're talking
salad.
about salad. Oh,
But then surely it would be better if you called it the Salad Toss.
No.
Well, no, not like that. But because instead of salad casting, you'd technically be tossing it, wouldn't you, rather than casting it across the room?
Yeah,
But-
well, what's someone on the internet going to think if they see salad toss?
Well, it might come up in more people's search. You never know.
Yeah,
no, I don't
great.
think we want that kind of people listening.
Yeah, we really want that audience. Oh dear. We just call it the Raspberry Trombone Cast. Oh dear. Yeah.
That would be precise. Rusty trombones.
Yeah. Do you know what that is? No, I better not go into that, but
Yeah, I've got an idea.
yeah, it's similar to the.
Oh,
I think I think the salad tossing is a component of the rusty trombone, but we anyway. So I was also thinking maybe we could combine our initials in some boring way and see if we can make something like as a backronym, or whatever. Yeah, that's the thing. Can we combine them in a way that makes a word, that actually doesn't sound stupid with Z and D and R? Can you do that? Durs or
Zerd.
Zerd. Yeah, how about that? Zerd.
Zerd. The Zerd cast.
Zerd. The Zerd cast. I like that because
E and an O in there, it's a zeroed.
zero.
Welcome to Zero Cast.
Zeroed. We need the D though, because that's my name. That's my part.
That's
so-
what I said. With the D's.
Zeroed.
Zeroed. Yeah, I don't know. I think we should probably stick with Saladcast for the time being.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
Okay. But moving on, I think Watcher has appeared in every gaming focused
Dad
podcast.
lagging out there. We forgot to mention that. Dad may lag out and have weird gaps in his speech.
Did I just lag out while I was doing
Yeah.
intro?
Yeah, you do.
You Matrix glitched. Yep.
Okay. Okay, well, I'm back in the real world. I think we're doing this in the Matrix, aren't we, really? I can see
Technically,
green
I suppose.
around me. Yeah, it's definitely a slight green tinge.
That's just all that salad you've cast.
Green overlay.
I've tossed the salad. Oh dear. Anyway, so our first regular feature, as in every gaming podcast, is what you've been playing. So I'll start with Rob. What you been playing, Rob?
I've been breaking Uncharted 2.
Breaking.
Yeah, I made it glitch out really badly. It's not the first time I've had it happen with those games either. I managed to break the first one as well. You get to a certain point and you try and do the action the game is telling you to do, like kill the big dude or enter the aircraft or something like that, and it would just not load the next scene and stop. And the worst thing was at this time is that that the game would save just before doing the load. So then you try and reload your save game, and it can't because it's got to the stage that crashes. I've had to uninstall the patch in order to get it to work again, which is weird.
Okay, so it's the patch's fault.
Something like that, yeah. Or it's something it just doesn't get on with. So I uninstalled the patch and the game works fine again. But I had a problem with the first one where I actually had to patch it to fix the problem. But I had to do the opposite this time. Other than that, brilliant game.
Does PS3 have like mandatory patching like the 360, like where it automatically does it?
It's not mandatory. You can choose to cancel out, but it will keep pestering you about it. It'll bring up every now and then. It will just randomly bring up the overlay saying there's an update available, and you just circle out to cancel it. Just relatively irritating, but it doesn't affect. I think it's only when you need to do stuff that involve PSN that it flags the warning. Like, for instance, it came up when I got an achievement, and it's supposed to post it to my Facebook on Uncharted.
I've seen that.
Fun times.
Yeah, so it's supposed to do that, but then of course it couldn't because it couldn't connect to PSN because it wasn't fully patched. So I got the dialogue come up, and
So is this a problem with PSN rather than Uncharted? Because I heard they had that problem where like nobody.
It did, yeah, but it's supposedly fixed because it was just date related. It was like that was stupid in itself. They for some reason it was they calculated leap years incorrectly. And so it couldn't quite work out why the 29th of February didn't exist. So on the crossover between the 28th of Feb to the 1st of March, for a day it just all went a bit wrong. And you couldn't sign in, and some games got screwed up because they got confused as to what the date was. So basically Sony's advice was don't turn it on.
Not for that day, anyway.
Not for that day, no. And then they said, yeah, it's fine, we messed it up, and it works again. It's quite impressive to do it. Yeah, it's funny that it happened.
Opposite of what you'd normally expect. Normally you'd expect it to become the 29th and then the program to go, what the fuck, 29? That can't be right. Rather than for it to not be the 29th and the program to be expecting there to be a 29th.
Yeah. I think there was a similar issue, wasn't there, with the Zune?
Really?
Yeah, I don't think it was this Christmas, but Christmas before, on New Year's Day, the calendar went wrong on all of the Zunes, and the end result was that they wouldn't boot up. And Microsoft's advice was try it tomorrow, and when of course the calendar bug was fixed, and
well, it fixed itself by the next day.
Yeah, it sorted itself out.
PlayStation.
For some reason.
Did they actually patch it on the Zunes so they won't happen again in the?
Apparently, I think they did, as far as I remember, but haven't yet patched the PlayStation since that incident.
Oh really?
No. So it might happen again next year if they don't fix it in the next few patches. But
so if you disconnect your PS3 from the internet and try to play it next year on February, it might not work.
It still might not work, no.
Okay, fair enough.
Hard out. But then again, surely this would have happened the previous years if it wasn't a crazy one-off.
Yeah, I don't know. Did it get because? It isn't a leap year, is it?
No, it's 2 years away.
So, what's going to happen on the leap year?
Yeah, maybe the 29th won't exist.
Yeah.
Still.
That's
not right. Oh, my head. Oh, flames.
So, the game itself, Uncharted.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. Imagine Gears of War, but with humour. And occasional cow, which you can pet, which is great.
cows. Like
That's
Harvest
the-
Moon or-
yeah, well, no, not that bad. I've just got to a level where that's where I've stopped at the moment, where I've got to a level and you can go up to cows and go, hey, you're right. Literally. And-
Yeah. Does it have dialogue?
yeah, he sort of pats them and goes, hey, how's it going?
I hear it has a lot of quite good sort of incidental dialogue because apparently they got the actors to like watch the game as it was being played and ad lib lines while it was being.
No, it is brilliant. Sometimes it does sort of echo what your mind is thinking. Like there's a level which is, I still don't know quite how bits of it work, but because it's very clever. But it's a typical you're on a train, must get to the front style level, and but.
Falling off a
it's just it's just a really bloody long train. There's a scene where you can see it snake around the track, and it's like you can't see it end. It just the train just keeps going, and it's sort of you've played through a couple of chapters of this train, and all of a sudden he says, "Jeez, this train lasts forever," and and you're like, "Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing."
That's really good because that doesn't happen very often in gaming because it usually takes itself so seriously that you don't get that sort of thing.
Yeah, no, it is quite funny. It's like the opening lines of the game. Just you can tell you can't take it seriously. Where he just looks down and his hands all red, and he goes, "That's my blood. That's a lot of my blood."
Who's gonna say that though?
He does like to talk to himself.
That's true. Maybe he's going slightly mental. Who knows?
Mental.
Slightly mental.
Slightly chin. His chin is striking.
Oh dear. You're going a bit chin, mate.
Going a bit chin. Nope.
Chin up. Chin up. Mental up.
Because mentaling up has an increase in pitch naturally. So
Well, everything up has an increase in pitch, obviously.
So how is
except for falling planes.
Because I heard it was a bit more a falling plane.
They sort of go.
Sometimes.
What, like that sound? Like that sound? That train passing sound?
Oh, that's
If only this train had turned up like a couple of minutes earlier, it could have been perfectly in time with Rob talking about trains.
This is going to be the theme that we have to try and talk about trains as much as possible during this cast. So to make the ambience a bit more contextual.
We'll just have to see if the trains interrupt anything that's relevant or sort of hilarious for some reason. I doubt it, but.
No, well, it was trying to do an impression of an aeroplane crashing.
No, it wasn't very good at it.
It wasn't very good, no, it was too long. You know that sound that you always get sound effect on, like, TV shows? Yeah.
Like, that was on that one type of plane. Not
Yeah, exactly. It's total crap, yeah. They're called the Horns of Jericho, and they like attach them to Stuka dive bombers just to scare people, basically. And like since then, it's been like a point of reference for anything falling out of the sky has to make that sound, especially in Midtown Madness 2. I don't know if you guys remember that.
Yeah. How can we forget?
Yeah.
I heard another classic example of the goddamn sound effect you hear all the time again the other day. I was watching that stupid that thing with Richard Hammond and his slow motion cameras.
Oh yeah.
And of course they were on like Brighton Pier in the theme park, and it had the classic theme park sound effect with those goddamn laughing children that you hear every time.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, the one from Roller Coaster Tycoon. How is that sound effect still around? It's ancient.
Do you have any merry-go-round music?
No, they didn't have they didn't have the merry-go-round music this
Oh,
time.
that's disappointing. Gotta have merry-go-round music. Or waltzer. Did they show a waltzer?
Yes, they did.
There we go.
Right, several
That's
times.
one cliche fix. That's fine.
Even using it to show slow motion, where it was like he was holding up a sign as he went past, and it was like, let's do that again in slow motion so you could actually read what it said, because obviously you couldn't see it at real speed.
And what did it say? Monkeys?
It said like hello or something. I couldn't actually still read it even when it was in slow motion, because it wasn't written in like bold pen or anything, it was written in biro, so it was practically
Yeah, camera technology isn't that good in SD.
Well, they're using SD high-speed cameras. That seems a bit odd.
Oh, it would have been broadcast on Freeview, wouldn't it?
Okay.
Yeah. And
So is that you're watching it on
slightly worse TV?
on a old TV?
It is still technically HD. I'm just not convinced that they've got it set up very well.
Unless you've got a free sat box, you're not going to get HD TV, are you?
Yeah.
That too.
Sky
Well, that's the key
HD.
point, isn't it? Yeah.
Does it have a sticker on it saying it's ready for the hood?
I don't know. I haven't really looked.
Look at it, it's ready for the hood.
Hood rudder. Are you hood rudder?
Love that. Look at it, Tove.
So I wanted to ask about Uncharted 2. You say it's a bit like Gears.
Oh yeah.
It's not
You
like
did mention
shooter,
that.
'cause I've heard it's a little bit more like. Well, I've heard bits of it are a bit Tomb Raider-ish or.
Yeah,
some
it
sort of
is.
comedy.
There are sections of the game where it's where it's quite like the old Tomb Raider series. We have to climb up to where you want to do. You have to solve the. Well, it's not really that puzzly, but you're supposed to do things in order to open the pathway to the next section and things like that.
Okay.
But they're very much the minority of the game. There's only a few of them. In fact, most of Uncharted 2 isn't actually set in temples or anything like that. You're in exotic locations that seem to have been overrun with militia. So it's
Right.
it's well, there's the odd temple. The game starts off more temple-y, and then you go sort of towny actually for a bit. You're like in built-up city areas for a large segment of the game, and just cool. It's a nice change of pace, but it's it's a bit odd. But yeah, no, there's a lot of combat actually. You say there are sections that are reminiscent of Tomb Raider, and I suppose
Right.
if you were to describe it, it's Tomb Raider but with more guns.
Right. And the shooting being.
The shooting, basically, the shooting is very good, and it apes Gears of War basically, except it's
Right.
almost better in a way because Gears of War is quite static in the way that you play it.
Yeah, because you get behind that one piece of cover and you stay behind there for.
Yeah,
most
I mean
of
you can do that still, but the way the grenade system works means they do husk grenades and they are pretty accurate with them. So occasionally you do have to dive out of the way and things. And,
Right. Okay.
so it does keep you moving, and the game tries to force you to move by having enemies coming from different directions. So you'll clear a wave out from one side, and then all of a sudden they'll come from behind you, and you're like and
that's cool.
and have to move around.
But does it have infinite spawn sort of Modern Warfare enemies?
No, it doesn't. There's always a limit.
That's good.
It does them in sort of they're usually set pieces. So you kill a number of people, then it lets you move on. Like usually with some dialogue with your supporting characters and things like that. And
I have to say, it sounds really good.
it is very good, and they're not kidding. It does look amazing. Some of the graphical set bits are just incredible. It's a bit disappointing that they've used the tactic they did with the first game, and that the cutscenes aren't actually rendered on your console. They play a video that's rendered using the game engine. But to be honest, it's done so slickly, it doesn't matter at all. It's not like you can tell it's video.
That's interesting.
Unless you pay real attention. I mean, having working in broadcasting, I know what video looks like, but there are some artifacts and stuff, but it's very good, so it's really an
Sometimes
issue.
they do that. They record the cutscenes in, they make them using machinima style, using the game engine, and then they record them. But sometimes they compress it so badly that it looks really weird and different.
Yeah.
Lighting is somehow different, and it happens. It happens in the Batman game actually a little bit, not very often, but there's some
Yeah, no, I'll agree with that. Playing at least in the demo, I haven't played the full thing yet, but in the demo you could notice it really badly.
Yeah. It's a bit disjointed. It feels really weird. It's a bit like in those old old TV shows where they transition from an interior scene to an outside scene, and it changes from film to video or whatever. It's the same world.
Yeah.
Just the same characters and everything. It just looks different somehow. I don't know. It's really weird.
It's like, do you ever remember watching old TV or something? They had a certain way of filming indoors that sort of looked kind of smooth and jello-like, and then you go outside and then it's all harsh, and it's to do with the length of time they open the shutter, probably something like that.
That kind of thing.
And it's you kind of get that effect. And speaking of which, have you guys been reading the reviews for Final Fantasy 13? Haven't played it myself yet, but
I haven't.
I haven't really read them.
I've read one.
Heard.
Yeah, I bring it up because they supposedly have that issue that we're talking about on the Xbox version quite badly because they've
I heard that.
they've had to compress 32 gigabytes of HD video into something that will fit on 4 DVDs.
Like, pretty much, it's one of the few games where you should just pretty much not play it, the 360 version.
Yeah,
It doesn't happen very often.
Apparently it's not bad enough to affect the game, but the actual when you're playing the game. But it's rendered at a slightly lower resolution, as in it's not even rendered at 720. And they trick your mind into thinking it is by putting an overlay over the GUI at 720p while the game is being rendered at 576 behind, and things like that. So, but it's not noticeably that much worse. It's not like when you play Call of Duty, for instance, Call of Duty 4, it's actually running at a low res. It's not running at 720, I don't think.
Yeah, I noticed that personally. Like, I definitely noticed that on Call. I haven't played Modern Warfare 2 yet.
I think it's better in Modern Warfare 2, but yeah, in 4 you definitely notice it.
It comes.
There's a loud train.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't think that was really that much.
Oh.
Whoa, you were loud there.
Yeah.
I think it must have thought you were the train and tried to make you louder, and then recompensated. I don't know.
Yeah. Damn you, auto
Even though I
game.
got my microphone turned off. I'm sure I turned all that shit off, but maybe not. We'll have to fuck around with this again at some point, obviously.
Yeah.
Stand by.
Call of Duty. Stand by. Call of Duty 4, and also like Halo 3 as well. I find it quite noticeable that it.
Yeah, I think Halo's down-resed as well. Yeah.
But played a tiny bit of Modern Warfare 2, and it did look. I don't know if it was the res or just the game, but it did look a lot better. I have to say.
It does look better.
Yeah.
So I have some reservations about Modern Warfare 2. Not I'm not talking gameplay here, just purely visually.
Okay.
And it does look sharper, but I still can't say why it's considered like it got. Like everyone was saying, wow, it looks amazing and stuff, and it's like, it doesn't really. There's a lot going on, but a lot of the geometry is pretty square. It runs at a fast rate, which is fine, but at the cost of fidelity. So I wouldn't say it's amazing looking.
Yeah.
There are certain effects that are overdone. Like in the first level, there's so much smoke about, you can't actually see the enemies. I don't quite understand how you can play it on the hard difficulty levels and not retry the segments millions upon millions of times because you've been shot by someone you simply cannot see through the smog. It's I don't know. I find it quite an irritating visual design.
Yeah, I like smoking games when it's like purely your advantage and not the enemies. Like, in Graw, like it was absolutely ridiculous because you can just see through smoke using your
Thermals,
certainly the first Graw, you can use your visor thing or whatever it is to see through smoke. So the easiest way to kill enemies was just to, like, even if it was an impossible ambush across the way or something, then you just used a smoke grenade and they just couldn't see you, and you could just see them straight through the smoke using your goggles. And just pick them off. It was so easy. It was ridiculous. But if you can't see the enemies through it, then you haven't got any chance, have you?
It suffers from the ability that they know where you are and they know the precise, minuscule hole of desk in front of you that could kill you and headshot you or something like that. It just suffers from the AI being way too smart. Just fine if you want a challenge, but it just doesn't make it fun.
Yeah, personally,
and maybe I'm just crap, but
I don't think so. We both. I mean, you've worked your way through the Call of Duty 4, in the veteran mode, haven't you?
Yeah, all but the silo levels. The last few indoors, because they were just ridiculous.
Yeah, they
could shoot. Yeah, they could shoot you, one shot kill you through gaps that are smaller than about a mil. It's ridiculously small holes. Even if you're just nipping across to get to some better cover, you can't. The instant you show yourself, you're dead. And it just got at that point. It was just like, you know what? I'm not enjoying myself. I'm out.
Yeah, this isn't worth the gamer points going on here. Yeah, I know what you mean. But when you're trying to do the what's the level in the Chernobyl at the end where next to the Ferris wheel and the dogs keep attacking you.
Oh yeah, that was hard.
Yeah,
that was hard.
On veteran. I watched you playing that. It was a bit of a nightmare, wasn't it?
Yeah, you can't see where stuff's coming from. Well, that bit wasn't. It's difficult, but because you're overwhelmed, difficult, and I think that was the intention. So I don't really have a problem with that bit so much.
No.
It's but in the silos, yeah, it's just rubbish.
Yeah.
Well, I'll give Modern Warfare 2 a go in Veteran, see if I can cope with it. Maybe it's a bit more forgiving in places, except for the favela. God, I hate that level.
Yeah, you were saying about the guys that pop up like in the windows.
Yeah,
Don't even see them.
it's more the problem I find with playing Call of Duty is it's more a lesson in memory than it is skill. You sort of remember where people are, where they come from, where they tend to, when they tend to pop out and things like that, and you sort of learn the routine, essentially. And it's not really you're not really reacting per se. You sort of, oh, there's going to be a guy pop out there, and there he is. You know, it's shooting guns by numbers.
I mean, what do you think? I was reading this article about Doom, like in comparison to modern shooters, and it was saying that, like, well, in Doom you move incredibly fast, and there are loads of enemies, and they shoot at you. They're quite slow-moving projectiles sometimes, and it's relatively easy to like dodge incoming fire. So like, and it's saying that in a lot of modern shooters like Call of Duty, for example, or Gears, the enemy bullets are quite accurate, usually pretty damn accurate, and you're more of like a sponge for damage, and then you duck behind cover and recover. So you're like a walking tank almost in modern shooters, but it just gets weaker and weaker as you increase the difficulty. Whereas in Doom, you feel like you can actually dodge the fire, and it's more of sort of agility that makes you strong.
Yeah, and you get into a mindset a bit more about self-preservation, I think, in games with a health system like that. You know, with a number of health, you try to keep that number high. So you play a segment, intentionally trying not to get shot at all. Whereas in Gears and Uncharted suffers from this as well. You dive out of cover, you'll take a few shots as you get into the next few cover. Uncharted actually does it really badly because it has this horrible disparity between the gameplay and the story. In the when you're actually playing the game, you can get shot all manner of times, and your character will react. He'll say "ow" to a bullet hitting him, and yet in the cutscenes, it takes the realistic approach in that a single shot is fatal and things like that. And it's probably the most obvious version of it I've seen, where it's just. Yeah, it irritates.
It's really jarring.
Yeah, it's just all of a sudden it's like, well, you just absorbed millions of bullets, and a single pistol shot to the gut is threatening your life. It's
like double standard, isn't it? In the game, isn't it? It's like, okay, now we're in a movie, now we're in a computer game, which kind of ruins the immersion if you're trying to connect them. Even if it's all rendered in the same engine, then like one bullet, it seems odd. I mean,
here comes the training in. Prepare for noise.
I am braced.
Braced.
How is it? Yeah. It was slightly early on your warning.
Here it comes. It's a good strain. That would explain why it was slower. And it would go on for longer as well.
Is it more grindy?
Yeah. How many of those good strains carriages actually have a container on, or are they like mostly empty?
Like 50% at the moment.
50% full.
It just reeks of a waste somehow.
Well, I was heading towards Felixstowe rather than away, so I suppose.
Yeah. Unless they ship stuff from Felixstowe, don't they?
Yeah, but not so much as importing.
Probably we don't export as much stuff as we import overall, I'd imagine.
I guess.
I don't know
Apparently
why.
I saw this thing where
they have to take the empty containers back.
No, they have this yard somewhere in Essex or something, and what they do is they crush up all the containers and put them into a container and ship them back to China, where they take them into a steel mill and build new containers out of them. Literally, because that's the most efficient way of doing it.
Melting down and...
Yeah, they melt down the old containers and they build new containers out of them.
That doesn't strike me as the most efficient way.
Apparently it is, because the space on the ships is worth more, than the effort.
Most efficient cost-wise, I suppose. But
you wouldn't want to just ship a container back if it didn't have anything in it.
Yeah.
Well, no, but can't they?
The old waste of space.
The annoyingly eco-friendly side of me is sort of screaming out, can't they just dismantle them and flat pack them like IKEA furniture and send them back like that?
Logical.
But surely that's less effort than re-smelting.
Yeah, maybe right. Although I don't know about these sort of structural rigidity of containers might require them to be just rigidly built, welded together rather than. But who knows? I mean,
I thought they were hinged more than. I don't know. Maybe you're right. Maybe they are sort of just a solid cardboard tube-like structure with doors affixed. But
yeah, they're like corrugated down the sides, aren't they? For strength, aren't they? And then I don't know, they have like a tube.
It's because they have
structure.
to like stack them all on top of each other on the boat and stuff, isn't it?
Yeah,
And then, like,
they,
don't know how many deep it is, like 15 or something, probably at least.
depending on the ship, yeah, it's huge. Like there's that Emma Mask one that you occasionally see out of Felix Day that's absolutely enormous. Well, there's several of them actually. There's like it's like a class of them. There's like 4.
really, 15? I thought it would be only like 5 or 6.
I was guessing.
No, it's
But
definitely
not
really
just the
high.
ones you can see on the top as well, because it goes into the holds as well
Yeah.
as the bit that sticks over the deck.
Yeah, I
Yeah, it
guess.
goes underneath. Yeah, it's crazy. So,
Podcast.
I'm gonna ask Zach, what you been playing?
Because then I can give you a boring old answer, because I don't play any new games. Pish.
That doesn't matter.
Because
I don't know.
have
You've
any
been.
way to play new games. I've been playing Team Fortress 2, obviously,
Of course.
recording tons of demos, but naturally doing the classic thing where it's like, I start playing, and I'm like, okay, I won't record the first round because probably the map will change, so I won't be playing this map for very long, so it wouldn't be worth starting a recording, and I'll be getting into the swing of things, so I probably won't be playing as well in the first round. And then when it's like the second round, by that point I've already forgotten that I was going to start recording, and then I have an awesome round, and then at the end of that round I'm like, shit, I should have been recording, fuck! So I never get any good footage. I always miss the one round where I'm awesome.
So why
Like,
don't you?
damn
Have you not got enough hard disk space to just record, from the beginning, even if it is rubbish, and just delete it afterwards?
Well, they don't take up very much space, so I could do, but it's just I always think that I'm like, I'll just start it when the next map starts.
Yeah.
And then you have your run.
Yeah, and then I have the one awesome run. But I've been getting some fairly good footage out of things, and now that I've actually worked out the way that you can export the videos directly from Team Fortress without having to use fraps, which is very useful,
Cool.
we can create slightly better quality.
It has a little encoder built into the demo thing.
And then recompress, and then open it in another program, and then patch them together, and then recompress, because that's a bit excessive.
I want to avoid, from my extensive experience, you want to avoid recompressing whenever possible because you start losing quality quite badly.
Yeah,
Trouble
it's
is,
a bad idea.
You still really have to do 2 compressions, because you have the initial export from Team Fortress,
Yeah, so that's one.
has its own compression, and then patched together, recompressed. You can theoretically export full frames, but that takes forever and a shit ton of space.
Well, you're only going to be watching on YouTube, so it's going to be compressed by them, isn't it?
In YouTube HD!
Oh, HD. Okay.
Slightly better quality! So I've uploaded
not
some
bad,
random
actually.
bits of footage that I've been taking, and I've taken some more that I need to patch together. Last night I was doing some hilarious shit, like, I actually got a taunt kill, so it's like, hooray, I was recording when I did something interesting! Woo! Make a video.
Are you doing like a huntsman frag vid?
Yes, I've already done. I did like a semi-tutorial one where I had, like, did some text as well to say, why do people think this is shit? It's awesome. And then there was parts
The
of it
Huntsman.
where I did like one life recording, because I actually had a hella long life where I got like 12 kills or something. So it's like, hooray, that's interesting. Record that. My life was longer than 10 minutes, so it's like parts of it are sped up to fit into the 10-minute YouTube limit.
Use the Benny Hill theme.
No, I should have done. I used your music. But,
That's alright then. Hooray!
And then-
There you go, there's a
then I
plug.
had- Yeah, exactly.
I didn't even have to
Got
push it.
75 views so far. Fix
Sweet.
you.
That's
Oh, there. I have to link them to the Glacial Facebook page, and if you like the music, come hither.
Sample footage where I just took a straight up export cut from directly from Team Fortress of me playing Pyro has more views than that. I don't know why.
There's going off on a bit of a tangent here. I actually logged into my Glacial Facebook page, and I haven't done much on it for a while. But I've now got like a number of fans attached to it, which is nice. But they all have Spanish-sounding names, I think I can't help but wonder if they've just gone to the wrong page, because there is someone else on there called Glacial, who appears to be, but with a small g rather than a capital G, who appears to be of possibly Brazilian or Puerto Rican origin. So it's I think they might have gone to the wrong Glacial and just go, yeah, I'll add you, it's fine.
Brazilian DJ named Glacial or something. Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah, I haven't actually listened to it. I'm not sure he has anything posted actually on the music player, but it's kind of weird. So yeah, I'm not actually doing. Just in case anyone goes to look, I'm not doing Latin beats.
Well, you should do one in tribute to your Latin fans.
Yeah, samba, di Glacial.
I think you should. I hope your true fans outnumber your phantom Latin fans.
Yes.
just say yes. No one will.
Smile and nod.
Did I just talk through a Matrix thing?
No, you were fine. Yeah.
All right, okay. Crazy. So TF2 then.
Yes, TF2 has been mainly what I've been playing.
Anything else?
Looked at your hour count on that.
No, you actually went and looked like Dan did.
Don't look at that.
667 hours.
Yeah.
It's been out for like 2 years.
No, but bloody hell.
What is that in?
It's not like I don't play Team Fortress a lot, and I've got 215 odd hours in it, which is more than I've played any other game, and it's a third. It's a third of your total game time. I find that mind-boggling.
Well, don't you remember how it was in 2142, where it was like I had a shit ton of time on that as well? Can't remember.
Yeah, not that much.
I don't know. It was quite like actually I can go to that page and find out because I've still got the link in my favourites to the 2142 leaderboards.
Right there, Dan. It sounds a little bit like you're being mugged.
What here?
Yeah, it was like click, clap, click, 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 like someone's come up behind you and is just putting chloroform in your nose.
In my nose, but I still got my mouth, so I can still breathe.
Why did I get the vision in my head when I said putting chloroform in your nose? Of not someone putting a cloth in their nose, but then sort of leaning back and dripping it up your nostrils, like a nose drip.
Yeah, nose. Those drops. That's
yeah, that's better.
That's what you're looking for.
Fix vapor rub, but with chloroform. Vapor rub your pretty chest. Yeah, whoops. What do they call? Is it just Vicks nasal or something? Or
yeah, something like that. I know.
Vicks snort.
Finally got to the page.
But it can't be nearly as many hours as TF2, can it? That you've played 21 Battlefield 2142.
I played Battlefield 2142 for 448 hours.
Bloody hell!
Man.
And Northern Strike for an extra day on top of that.
Just Rob, just think of it this way. Think how many hours you've put in working, okay?
It's extra progress of the week.
Oh dear.
Well, it's not like I play it all day because I'm asleep half the day.
That's true. But have you been playing any other games, like any Dwarf Fortress or anything?
God no.
I played some small amount of Eve because I'm keeping my account operational merely by paying for it with in-game money. Because I probably only need to play Eve for about 5 days a month, and I can make enough money to pay for another month's worth of subscription.
It's so cool, actually. I really like that idea that you can actually get to a point in the game where you've obviously paid a lot of money to the developers at this point in time, that you can sort of self-sustain, and it's almost like a thank you from the devs in a weird way, isn't it? It's like you've got to the point in the game where you can self-sustain. It's fine. It's on us.
Yeah, but obviously paying them. Someone somewhere is still paying it.
Oh yeah, obviously there are people coming in, and perhaps the big cores don't want to spend all their cash on self-sustaining their account, and
yeah, I know, that does sound cool actually. But
it's neat.
Do you have to spend those 5 days doing boring things, or can you actually have fun?
I just do the things that I normally do, like run missions and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, not that that's very fun to a lot of people, I guess. I could mine. That's definitely not fun.
But that's your style of play, isn't it? You've always been
Yeah, that's
a
just what I
lone
do.
wolf.
It's convenient that what I do can give me enough money in order to do it. So it's like, I don't have to do anything out of the ordinary to earn enough cash.
What's going on in Eve these days, anyway?
Is this going to be interesting?
Slightly. there's another train coming. Maybe I'll wait for that first. Wait, here it comes.
In the meantime,
Yeah, you should turn every train into a jingle.
yeah, just it's like, oh, we've gone long enough. We need a jingle now. It's fine. need to mix things up a bit.
Exactly.
So they've just started talking about their next expansion thing coming sometime in the summer, where they're going to have the first stage of planetary interaction. So now planets will be able to, you'll be able to like have a kind of a space scan of a planet and then detect resources and then like build little factories and shit and then link them up and process things and then launch the resources back into space or something. And eventually that will somehow link into that Dust 514 FPS thing that they're making for ground battles. Something. I don't know. It's the first stage in actually making planets do something other than look pretty.
Because planets are just like big sprites, aren't they, at the moment, aren't they?
Yeah, they had been like just giant sprites, and then they upgraded them to actually make them look nice
3D-ish.
when compared to the new graphics of all the ships and stuff.
Okay.
And now it's like, now you can actually interact with them in some kind of way.
Was this ground battles? Is this ground battle stuff like a separate game that you also have to buy and get subscriptions for, or is it just an extension of Eve? Or
we're not actually entirely sure, or at least I'm not, but they're releasing, it's going to be some kind of FPS, or possibly third person, I don't know, I don't think I've actually seen a screenshot of it.
Shooter.
It's a shooter of some kind, on Xbox 360, and I'm not sure even about PC, but it is actually going to have some kind of backlink where stuff that happens on that game will affect stuff that happens on the actual Eve server. So
ambitious. But then again, I suppose Eve was ambitious at the start, so
it's going to be weird. But it's just like, obviously there's been hordes of people, like lots of people in the Eve forums and stuff have been like, oh no, we don't want to rely on console tards to fight wars for us, so no's.
I can't imagine it having that much direct impact on the Eve.
No, probably not.
Whatever will happen will not actually be very, very relevant, or at least not to start with. I mean, they can't just come out of the gate and say this will affect everything really drastically. If anything, it will be like, this will affect things minorly at first, and then if it turns out to be an actually good game, then maybe we'll...
To be honest, they'll probably just start with modifying the market, won't they? So it's just the prices of things that are in demand and stuff. Or maybe it'll affect trade routes, so you have to supply the ground battles.
Yeah, with the planetary interaction thing where they're like building factories and shit, I imagine it'll be like, maybe it'll affect those factories' output, or different resources will become available if a planet has had a fight on it recently or something. That would make sense.
Yeah. I quite like the idea of a game where the backstory, instead of being written by a team of writers, has actually been written by gamers over the years in a different game.
Yeah, so I do like that. Yeah, I've always liked the idea of Eve's evolving universe and how it is driven by the players. And you know, as you said, when something happens between the corporations, they write it into the backstory, don't they? So as if some big fight occurs, or the pirates own everyone, or something like that. It's like the Dark Ages have come.
And that could only work in Eve because Eve is still the only MMO that I'm aware of that only has the one server.
Yeah. That is its main sort of advantage, I suppose, where everything's on one server, so anything that happens.
Ridiculous cluster. What is it? Wasn't it at one point like the third biggest supercomputer or something that powers that? Crazy.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Still have problems with it. It had weird SQL errors recently where it crashed the server or some shit.
Ouch. That can't be simple to fix. It's like when you've got a million clustered machines.
Isn't it? Where it's like, they can't run tests on it because that will affect the server, and they can't take the server down to run tests offline because then you won't have any load. So it's like you have to kind of simulate it on a totally separate system compared to this giant supercomputer.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they do have the demo server, don't they? But it can't be nearly as comparable.
Yeah, I mean, when they need to do things on the test server, they put up a notice which is like, everyone log onto the test server, we need to stress test it. and you get like 500 people, and that's not very many really.
It's probably only running off a couple of, like a considerably smaller cluster, isn't it? Yeah, rather than a warehouse.
So do they have scheduled downtime on Eve like they do on WoW?
Yes, they have an hour a day.
Oh, okay.
About 11 o'clock. It's a daytime downtime rather than nighttime.
Okay.
I assume that's so that they can actually work on things, so that they're awake during the downtime. It's like, oh no, right in the middle of the day, what if we're playing on European time? Because there's no Americans in Eve, because the ping is too high, because it's a European server.
Is that so?
I didn't think of that, but yeah, that makes...
Is it not in Iceland then?
I thought it was in Iceland. That's cool.
The company's in Iceland.
Yeah, but you'd think it'd be quite a good place, because it'd be halfway between...
Because it's cool.
halfway between Europe and
I suppose we have fatter
Americas.
pipes.
Well, the
Now, our series of tubes is made of gold.
Why it was that they
Whittington of the internet.
why they decided that the American server wasn't as important. I mean, they made that independent server for China. I mean, obviously that's a totally different market. I guess
So-
it's American.
Oh, well, yeah, that's probably not a server issue, is it? That's probably Chinese censorship.
Well, yeah, that too. But
Am I going to get killed now for saying that?
Well, there's tons of Chinese WoW servers, aren't there?
Yes, but then there's like relatively small,
Yeah, that's
like
true.
the Giganto cluster, and it's not like you don't get a ton of Chinese people on the normal server, relatively speaking. All the ISK sellers, the bastards. So
Is that like gold farmers?
old, yeah,
Are they
macro
called?
miners,
Macro miners.
macro miners and ISK sellers. Damn bastards.
Do they mess up the economy then? Because I mean, on that way, if there's
They
one
do
server,
quite severely mess up the economy in some cases. All kinds of mineral price fluctuations have been. It was like quite recently there was a big spike in mineral prices, and I was like, "Why is this then?" And then you look at the market and try and work out what has changed, and it's like there's been a whole ton of mining barges being sold recently as well. So it must have been like a ton of accounts got banned that were macro miners, and then when they came back in, they had to rebuy all their equipment. So it's like suddenly mineral prices and mining barge prices go up because there's less mineral supply, and all the people who are coming back in have to rebuy their mining barges.
Yeah, so less supply, but then suddenly more demand. More demand for both barges and minerals because there's not much of them. And that makes sense.
It seems like mostly macro miners have been mining ice now, though, mainly because it takes sort of longer, but the ice comes in big chunks, so it's easier to manage. One chunk of ice is really huge rather than a large pile of minerals, but each individual mineral is small.
I think Eve is one of the few games I can safely say I actually find quite interesting to talk about because of all these crazy fluctuations, and there's a sort of politics to it. But
Yeah, there is.
at the same time, I will never play the thing.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I love reading. Occasionally, you get like a really interesting story. Usually, it's like about corporations, and then usually it's about. So it's happened several times where someone who's like been a mole and like pretended to be part of the other corporation and then fucked them up. It happens.
That's awesome, though.
Yeah, I mean,
There's been some ridiculous stuff, kind of, not exactly moles, but there's been a fairly big story recently about the old goon fleet got totally screwed. But basically, it was their own fault, because there was...
Something awful.
Yeah, the something awful goon fleet.
Okay.
They had like a big lump of space, obviously, as you do. But then there was a change in one of the recent patches to how you keep sovereignty of space, where like the towers that you build in space to claim sovereignty had their system changed, so you had to manage their fuel in a different way. And the person who had the role of fuel management for most of the towers in Goonfleet was conveniently on holiday. So all their towers ran out of fuel almost simultaneously, so they lost control of a shit ton of space, and then all the enemies around them were like, what the fuck's going on? Rawr! And then they just had a big fight in the middle, while Goonfleet just walked the fuck out. So basically Goonfleet don't own any space any longer, and they're now like hidden away in stealth pockets where they've set up like in various weird places, so they don't control any space any longer, and they're moving out of this big chunk of space and left a big hole where like 3 other alliances started attacking from 3 different directions and had a big fight with each other.
So they're going to come back and like try and retake their space.
Well,
survived.
the blog thing that they said about it suggested that they're probably not going to for a while until they can sort of reconsolidate their forces, because they got spread out into various hidden pockets where it was like they had their fallback plan where it's like retreat to these locations or whatever.
Yeah.
So they're called kind of regrouping, but they haven't decided whether they actually want to reclaim space, or at least not that bit.
No one cares.
I wonder if
I thought you said this was interesting, Rob.
It was to a point.
It's funny. It's funny mainly because like Something Awful goons are really weird.
Basically.
Yeah, and if they get screwed over, I don't really mind because it's just quite funny. At least they're not. Is there like a 4chan fleet? That would be really bad. That'd be terrifying. Although they're probably too busy like posting pictures of like kiddie porn rather than like playing Eve. But yeah.
Well, surmised there. That was about all you need to know about that.
Well, it's true though, sadly, isn't it?
Summarise, what we've ascertained from this podcast so far is that Eve is relatively interesting, but you wouldn't play it, and that 4chan is run by paedophiles.
Yeah, but you must have already known that.
It's common knowledge.
Must have already known both things, pretty much.
It is common knowledge, yeah. What is it? /B and all that. I've never actually been on there, and I guarantee I'm not going to.
I've only been there in sort of passing from links that other people have said. Basically, I have a convenient filter where it's like, we have like a couple of people who look at 4chan in IRC, but then because of the rules in IRC, where it's like, this is a fairly polite channel, all the shit kind of gets filtered out, so we only get the more interesting things.
Oh, that's cool.
It's kind of convenient.
I
So I
sometimes
can
go
see
on...
the stupid memes and shit, without having to put up with all the other crap.
I sometimes go on that the sort of 4chan wiki, effectively, which is Encyclopedia Dramatica or whatever it's called,
Yeah.
which is a really misleading name, which is basically a troll version of Wikipedia, isn't it?
Yeah.
But that has all the memes on, of course, and it's really offensive and horrible, but it's not as bad as actually going into 4chan, I don't think.
Supposedly, no.
I mean, it is pretty horrible, that website, but I mean, obviously some pages are much worse than others. I mean, if you deliberately go on there and look up rape or something, then you're back to you're bound to find some horrible stuff. I don't know. I don't really mind that it's horrible, it's just that it's really racist. That's the worst thing about it, in my view. Anyway, never mind.
So you're rape you're okay with, but...
Well, not rape, because they're not actually raping people. They're just making stupid jokes or whatever. Anyway.
Okay. Yeah,
Let's move on from this topic again then.
we were talking about oilseed.
No,
And
but
what also, one more thing that I haven't been playing is Dwarf Fortress, because goddammit, where is the new version? New version!
I thought
Literally
it's been
more than a year now.
Yeah, well,
It's getting
I thought...
close, very close by the sounds of the dev posts. He's in bug testing, but of course, because it's bugs, you can't determine how long that'll actually take to get finished.
Well, what's so good about the new version? What are they changing? Like-
A whole ton of ridiculous shit. All the combat will be totally revamped to make it even more ridiculous than it already was.
But it's already ridiculous.
Chopping off limbs and crap.
No,
But
that's already stupid.
Now they've got
Grabbing you by the foot with your elbow.
yeah.
That
Now
kind of thing, yeah.
body parts will have more physical positional relationships to each other. So it knows that arms are at the end of the body and vaguely where the internal organs are related to each other.
Oh my
And
god.
all the body parts have different layers now, so you actually have tissue layers where it's bone and then muscle and then skin and then hair.
Oh.
So that's all going into the combat system for unnecessary complicatedness.
I want there to be a display that shows a body and it shows the positions of all the major organs and stuff, but instead of being pictures, they're just ASCII characters like L for liver and H for heart. Oh god, that'd be so awful.
Is it still going to be possible to grasp with your elbow or your nose?
I suspect it may be, although there has supposed
I'm going to really tense my nostrils and and then have you in an arm lock somehow.
So there's been a rewrite of combat, and
God.
there's a big rewrite of all the underground features. So now basically wherever you go on the map, you'll be able to find lava if you dig deep enough. And there'll be all
Don't care.
underground caves and lakes.
No one cares.
I don't care about this. Like, I'm very interested in, but I really don't care about like the lava in Dwarf
Fortress is the
Fortress.
best shit ever.
Perhaps you should explain at this point what Dwarf Fortress is, because let's be honest, it's not mainstream.
No.
Well, it is in IFE, lols. No, okay.
Yeah,
Because IRC is where everyone lives these days.
all 10 of them. Actually, have
Or at least they did in the late 1980s.
Yeah, that's true.
But anyway, well, it's a game where you're a bunch of dwarfs and you dig a fortress. Like, sort of.
Who's in the name?
Only it's made in ridiculous non-graphics, where everything is made up of text symbols, basically. Not actually literal text, because it's a graphical engine that's displaying sprites that are text.
Which is a completely unnecessary detail.
Yeah, it's a. But the thing to point out at this point is it's a processor murderer because the amount of detail it processes everything in.
Yes. It's like, you just can't run it very fast for very long. If you start getting a shit ton of cats, pathfinding lag will ruin your system.
This makes no sense to anyone, but yeah, it's like
Fear the
it's
cat.
not even like when it's like a shit ton of cats he's talking about. It's not like cats in Startopia or something. He's talking like little C's or something on the screen, and it'll take over your fortress made up of D's or something.
Clutch.
Oh god, and destroy and melt your processor somehow. I don't know.
Yes, because all the cats
you haven't even got-
pathfind.
You haven't even got your old Palorona to like.
Oh, I really, you know, a bit of me is still quite miffed that Muckyfoot didn't live to see another game.
Yeah, well,
I mean, they were just a spin-off of Bullfrog anyway. So
True.
we can just about hold together for one more game.
Maybe they got sued profusely, but
what happened?
Startopia was well received. No, it got bought by EA.
Yeah.
Oh, so
Which is why
Well,
there's no Dungeon Keeper free as well. Because they did that preview where it was like, here's a teaser video in Dungeon Keeper 2, Dungeon Keeper 3, where you'll be...
That's never a good idea, is it? Because they did that in Startopia, didn't they? It's like, look forward to Startopia 2.
No, they did.
yeah.
Yeah, they did. In the credit sequence, it says, look out for Startopia 2, the even sequel's always the best.
Did it? I don't remember. It was only text though, it wasn't like the Dungeon
Yeah, no, it wasn't like a
Keeper
trailer.
video.
Like at the end of the original Command and Conquer, and that game finally came out. Well, that was
That was the
CMC.
worst teaser ever. It was like, hey look, you're going to be a mech and walk around and kill shit. Only, wait no, you're not. It's just going to be Command and Conquer with mechs.
Yeah. Yeah, it was to get you sort of excited, wasn't it? And then disappeared into the ether for about 8 years. And then, and then what was the Command and Conquer 4? While we're talking about that, it's supposed to be really bad.
Yeah, that's what
I'm not
people have been
surprised. I mean, I mean, people are saying it looks interesting because of the way you can change between defensive and offensive, like with a button or something. But I was looking at videos of it, and it looked like CNC, except it hasn't moved with the times at all, and I'm pretty sure it's just gonna be bad.
There isn't base building though.
Basically what it looks to be like is just like it's World in Conflict, only really stupid.
Well,
and it's like,
if they could copy World in Conflict, it wouldn't be a bad thing though.
well, yeah, that's why I was thinking. It's like, this sounds exactly like World in Conflict, where you have like the offensive role and then the support role and stuff. But supposedly it has weird, fucked up, like the unit balance is terrible, and like by playing through the single player, you unlock the tiers of units for multiplayer and single player. And like, if you've unlocked
Weird.
tier 3, you can always build tier 3. You don't have to like tech up to it.
Oh right, so that makes the multiplayer really unbalanced. Yeah,
That's crazy.
it's crazy. Well, it's not so bad if they
The way
kept.
you could change was like they said, oh, okay, you can be well, it was like assault, defensive, and there was one other which was like support or something.
presumably.
Anyway, but like when you're playing the single player, it was like, oh man, like the devs were talking about it over these videos or whatever, and they were like, oh, maybe I wanna build up my base, I wanna be in like defense mode or something, but now for this all-out assault, I wanna. And it's like, why on earth? But it was like they were making a big point about how there were different play styles, and changing between them. But why wouldn't you just be defensive while you were turtling and then just switch to offensive when you would go to destroy the enemy base? I mean, everyone's going to do that, right? So what's interesting about that?
It's like,
what's interesting
might as
about
well
that?
not be a switch.
Yeah, exactly.
You might as well just combine those two features into one thing.
Isn't that how any RTS has ever worked?
Anyway, yeah, it's just you build up your, it's the same. It's just putting a name on the fact that you build up your base defenses first, and then you build your 50 mammoth tanks, and then you roll in or whatever.
Do you argue that that's kind of what Ruse is doing, but Ruse does it with visual cues, in the sense that, you could always, when you're playing Fog of War, like, just drive your tanks off one way and then go, right, I'm out of their range of vision, I'm going to go a different way now, so they're really confused, and start doing that. But Ruse just puts big arrows saying they were going this way, and it's basically, as I say, putting labels on an idea that's existed since Fog of War in RTSs.
Right, so that's trying to deliberately, sort of confuse you in that it's a ruse.
Yeah. I don't think it's a bad idea, but it's not
quite good.
I don't think it's massively new, though, simply because you could do it in previous RTSs, but maybe it's maybe you wouldn't be looking at the other icons, moving in weird directions, because you'd be focusing on your turtles. But
yeah, maybe it's more like for Ruse. Maybe it's just like you could do it in when there was Fog of War in other games, but now because it's more obvious when it's happening, it's easier to do. It's like, now I know that I'm out of their view range, and it's saying that I am, and it's showing where they think I was going. Now I can coordinate easier with what I'm actually doing.
Yeah.
And just guess.
It's almost like the new thing in the new Splinter Cell game. Have you seen that? I mean, this completely different genre, but when you move out of enemy vision, it creates a little ghost image of where the enemies think you are, and you can use that to... It's
kind of cool.
A similar idea. Yeah. Don't you think? It's quite comparable.
Yeah.
It's actually quite a good idea, though, but it's almost unnecessary, though, isn't it? Because it means... It's going to make it a bit easier, because before that, surely that's the thing about stealth games, is that you've got that tension, and that people thrive off in that. And that, if you're not sure whether or not they're going to come for you, and you're sitting there going hiding, I hope they don't spot me. I hope they don't spot me. Hopefully they'll get the idea of my little distraction I played over on the other side of the room, and that they'll go for it. Hopefully, not.
Yeah.
He's absolutely going to go this way. But
I mean, I think the ghost appears, but I haven't played the game yet, but I'm pretty sure they can see through it if they move up to it or something.
Oh, sure, but...
Yeah, but, I don't think it's a concrete, they will move to this point now, because that's
I would imagine, hopefully, that they have some kind of more advanced AI where they won't just go up to the ghost and be like, well, he's not here any longer. They might actually, see that you were there and then think... and then actually have the AI think that you might be trying to do something ingenious by distracting them, and actually have them become more alert to other directions.
Yeah, so that when they actually get to the point and you're not there, they actually look around and look up, for example, where you might be hanging in the rafters, rather than going,
So that's always the big old problem with stealth games, isn't it? Like Metal Gear, for instance, where you set off the alarms and everyone's at you for a while, going, oh, there's someone here, what are we going to do? Let's take Metal Gear 1, for instance. You're on an isolated island, and you're the only guy that's sort of suspicious on the thing, and they go, it's probably nothing. I'm sorry, he's not going to go anywhere. He's still around.
Yeah. I quite like that. I mean, in the Batman game, Arkham Asylum, it wasn't it was quite contrived and gamey the way it had the gargoyles. But other than that, I thought it was quite they never go, oh, there's no problem after they've spotted you. They're terrified the whole time and they're looking around. And the more you pick them off and stuff, they get so scared they start shooting at nothing, which is really disconcerting at first. Because you don't usually get that in games, but when you hear a shooting sound, you assume you've got aggro. And you're being shot at.
Yeah, I agree.
Automatically, even if they're not hitting you, and they're just shooting at shadows. Literally, you can see, and you can see their heart rate as well using your bat vision and stuff. And it gets higher and higher, and they get more scared, and it's really cool. And they never calm down. And
that disconcerting in Bioshock as well, because admittedly I have humongous sound problems, so any kind of noise was a bit. I'm not quite sure what this is, but the. Yeah, it was glitchy as hell. I think it's a lazy port to the PC. But one of the things you sort of hear your turrets that you've previously hacked sort of having a fight in other rooms when enemies have spawned back in there, and they're sort of all of a sudden a fight breaks out, and you're like, what the heck is that? And then after a while it's like, it's fine. It's not actually going to bother me. It's a bit more worrying when your rocket turrets start firing, and you're like, where's that coming from? Yeah, going back to sort of gamey conversations. Well, not that we weren't in a gamey conversation, but I finished Bioshock at last, first one, and
you on Bioshock 2.
Yeah.
Correct.
Although I have to say, I hope the port is better, because that did ruin a lot of it for me. Like
Interesting.
I did have fairly atrocious sound issues in that it would only play a certain number of samples at the same time, like 4. The surround sound didn't work.
On PC, this is.
Yeah, the PC version, and the surround sound didn't work really at all. And and of course there was that thing I mentioned to you guys, but previously about the physics engine, which runs at 30, right. Which is fixed at 30 frames per second, while the game runs faster on a PC, obviously.
Yeah.
So it's it looks odd.
That's bizarre.
Don't get me wrong, I kind of enjoyed it, and I did sort of play through it and its kind of thing, but technical issues did kind of make it a whole lot worse than it needed to be, and for that reason I can't really mark it as a great game, because it's just a bit too glitchy.
Right, but what did you think? I mean, what the strength of it is supposedly like. I mean, it's good looking and stuff for the time, and it's got a unique.
Well, it still looks pretty good, yeah, and the atmosphere is nice. It's hard to. You do get into it because it's quite claustrophobic. It does take a little getting used to. I don't know what you're used to these big open areas in modern games where you can run around and do what you like pretty much, and then this really confines you in, and it does feel fresh, but at the same time, it's fresh and old school, and you sort of have to get, if you know what I mean. Do you know what I mean though? It's like old games used to be corridor shooters, didn't they? Like Quake and Doom 3 being the example that comes to my head, and
yeah, well, that was an odd one, because that was almost retro at the time, wasn't it, Doom 3, if you think about it?
Yeah.
Because, like, even Half-Life is a bit more open, certainly in places, than like, Doom 3 was.
What do you think about wrapping this up? I think we've gone on for over an hour now.
How are we doing? I haven't talked about anything I've played.
Yeah, we're totally been ignoring Dan.
So no,
he's the host. He's technically the host, and for this week we're his guests, boy.
Yeah, you need to reciprocate the question when we reach a point that it's appropriate.
I mean,
No, it's okay. I will. Shall I? Yeah, we'll go on a little bit. How long the podcasts are pretty long, aren't they? They're like 2 hours or something.
Oh, really?
I'm having fun, actually. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all good.
Well, I don't know how much longer it'll be until my dinner's ready, so.
Yeah, I'll make that.
We'll do Dan.
Yeah, and then we'll have the mushrooms, shall we?
Yeah, then some mushrooms will turn up suddenly.
Say yes to mushrooms.
I said some mushrooms.
Always say yes to mushrooms.
Yeah, I agree, definitely. Man.
Listen up, kids. Always say yes to mushrooms.
Fried mushrooms, so it's like, I'll have some, not necessarily tons. I don't know what else is coming with these mushrooms. I assume it's not just going to be a big pile of mushrooms.
I work with someone who pretty much has a phobia of mushrooms.
Yeah, some people really don't like them. I don't know.
They sort of like, get that filthy thing away from me.
I kind of
greasy and gooey.
Yeah, they say it's like slimy or something, but
it's not. I can't imagine it's like eating oysters. But
yeah,
mushrooms are tasty. Oysters are not.
Exactly. That's all we're gonna say.
Oysters don't taste of anything at all. They probably taste of salt, I would imagine. A lot of
salt and phlegm.
It's the phlegm. You've not ever tried one, have you? I mean, I can't remember the last time I had one, but.
Well, I haven't tried oysters themselves per se, but I've tried lots of seafood things like mussels and stuff that are sort of similar, I suppose. And oh my god, they're just awful.
Yeah. I don't know.
I can't quite understand why, when you order mussels at a restaurant or something, you get this bucket of mussels, but they're just like, you have to prise the shell open and everything and eat them out. It seems too much like hard work, whereas, I suppose this is coming from me who likes, who likes his pizza where you can eat every part of it.
Door knocking. Hang on, I'm going to mute. You carry on for a minute.
Okay.
Wow. mushrooms. Mushrooms happen.
Mushrooms do happen. Mushrooms on pizza. Can't go wrong with that.
Yes, it is apparently food time.
Oh,
Okay.
outrageous.
But since I won't be talking while Dad's talking, you can just carry on and do Dad's gaming bit, and I'll just listen in, and if I need to say anything, I'll unmute.
Okay.
And the train agrees.
Yes,
So
the train
you're
also
saying-
agrees.
So you're eating, but you're eating at your desk, are you?
Yeah, that's where I normally eat.
Oh, that's okay then. You're not like leaving or anything.
No, it's not going to be a
alright.
problem.
Okay,
Just-
you can chime in.
So Zach's influence makes us sound pretty young, doesn't it? Like we're like teenage upstarts trying to make a name for ourselves on interwebs.
We pretty
And,
much are though. I mean, we tried before.
we're pretty much, we've done that once already, and now we're trying to resurrect it.
Yeah, I guess.
Okay, right.
With a bit of
I'll
hindsight
be
and
muting from now on, and then
Okay.
I'll chime in if necessary.
Okay, Zeg. By the way, Zeg means Zach. As you might not know. Yes, so what have I been playing? I guess I should answer that question.
shrooms.
Well, I wanted to talk about Mass Effect 2 a bit because that was fantastic, but I should say that I recently, the other day, got a hold of a copy of Bayonetta.
Oh, really?
Which was cheap, yeah, because it's got some great reviews out there, and I checked it.
I
Yeah,
totally wouldn't have figured you as a Bayonetta
No.
player.
no, I'm not really that. It's not my kind of thing. But I thought, well, better give it a shot. So, and it was really cheap. It's like 17 quid or something on Amazon. I
bonus.
thought, well, I'll give it a go. But it is really Japanese. You know, I mean, I know what you're saying about it might not be my kind of game, and I think it might not be, but I'm enjoying it anyway. Like.
Yeah, it's just the J-pop soundtrack and the sort of over femininity of it.
Well, I don't know. It's really weird. Like, I mean, I like anime and stuff, but this is just like it's quite cheesy. Like
Yeah.
the J-pop thing. Like, I thought that I'd be fine with that because I'm like, oh, J-pop, jazz, whatever. I'm like, oh, it'll be cool. It'll be like.
Oh no, it's not Cowboy Bebop.
It's not Cowboy Bebop. It's not Jet Set Radio either. You know, because that was great. That had a great soundtrack. This is like literally like "Fly Me to the Moon" being sung by some, you know, J-pop stuff.
It's that sort of it's hard to describe it. That sort of bouncy piano dance, isn't it? Where everything sounds a little bit from the 80s, but
Yeah.
a bit crisper for some reason. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, you've ever played the old Ridge Racer games? I mean, I know that's Japanese
Yeah,
and it's
yeah,
thing,
yeah.
but that over requirement to
Yeah,
have
something like
slap
that.
bass in every song.
Yeah, yeah. It does remind me of Ridge Racer actually. Was that from Ridge Racer 64?
I know all the early Ridge Racer games. They pretty much had slap bass in every song. I think that was the theme from the first Ridge Racer. Was just that
Yeah.
on the slap bass and.
What was that thing from 64? They're bringing up the rear or something?
Oh yeah. It took great pleasure in announcing that player 4 is bringing up the rear.
Yeah, that's really funny. Yeah, but so Bayonetta, yeah. I mean, I bought it because I thought it would be absolutely spectacular. It's pretty incredible.
Hang on, roll back a second. You got as far as spec and then lagged out.
Oh, did I lag out?
So I thought it was pretty
Spectacular looking, I was going to say, like graphically, like the attacks are absolutely mental. I mean, it took me a while to get, because there's like a combo system, obviously. It's a bit like Devil May Cry, only like turned up to 11, basically.
It's made by the Devil May Cry guys, isn't it?
Same guy. Yeah,
Yeah.
So, but he's given me like an in route because like obviously it's a new franchise and stuff. And it's quite confusing like story wise because like they don't really explain why, but you are a witch who's fighting the forces of heaven, right? And you are presumably allied with the forces of hell. It's quite confusing because it doesn't really tell you why.
Maybe it's just personal vendetta, rather than being aligned, or
Well,
witches.
I don't know, because like whenever you go, well, you're a witch or whatever, and the bad guys that attack you do come down from heaven, and whenever you go to the shop or whatever to buy upgrades and stuff, you actually go sort of into the bowels of the earth or something, down into hell, where there's a bar where there's like this dude sells weapons and stuff, like this tough dude or whatever, and then you come back up, so you go down into the earth to buy. So I think you are allied with the forces of at least the underworld, against the force of heaven for some reason. There's obviously some... Anyway, it doesn't make any sense. So I'm literally skipping the cutscenes at this point because I'm going, come on, get to the action. But yeah, it has this elaborate combo system. But I think the key really is dodging like attacks. You have a dodge on your...
Oh, yeah, getting the witch time, as they call it.
Yeah. So if you manage to pull off a dodge, you get witch time, which is like bullet time and increases the power of your attacks and stuff. But like, so you have to watch for the enemies telegraphing their attacks and dodge at just the right moment. And that'll give you more and more witch time. And that is almost more important than pulling off combos, because some of them are quite slow and they can be interrupted quite easily by any pansy-ass enemy actually hitting you. And so, but if you manage to dodge at just the right moment, even if you're in the middle of a combo, you can dodge.
That's cool.
And break out of it.
I just found that annoying with traditional fighting games, how you can activate a combo, but there's always, if you want to stop the move, there's always a difficult get out clause, or there's some games actually have a sequence of buttons you have to push in order to stop the move you're doing, and I was instinctively I just go block and
yeah, actually. Yeah, because there isn't a block, there's just a dodge. Hey man, so
to interrupt your conversation long.
Until
and inform you that I was quite disappointed by the mushroom content.
There wasn't
very much mushroom at all.
Mario wouldn't be happy.
Anyway, carry on.
Anyway, and it does a really good. The animation is really good for the dodge as well, because like I don't know how it works this out. It's obviously contextual, depending on where you are, but it looks like depending on the swing of the enemy, she'll actually flip over the blade or do something really cool like that, like when you dodge away. It looks really cool. Yeah, so a bit like in the Batman game, how all the punches seem to connect so well in that. In this, it's more the dodges that look good in that respect. But yeah, if you manage to pull off a combo, then you start going into her crazy witch thing, whereby... Because the conceit is that she's a witch with long magical dark hair that covers her and turns into...
Is the suit, isn't it?
Is her suit, yeah. But as she needs that magical hair in order to perform the crazy attack. So the more arse you kick, the more naked the girl gets, basically, which is pretty...
But it always makes an effort to have a tuft of hair concealing any... naughtiness.
Yeah, you never see anything too bad, but it is...
See, that sounds bad in itself, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does.
I have hair concealing my naughtiness.
Yeah, I mean, the hair is what you're trying to avoid in many cases. But yeah, it like turns into leather or something when it's hiding stuff. But yeah, and you have like a lollipop.
Hiding the humps.
You can upgrade your lollipop to change your like magical abilities and stuff, but I don't know. So
she's Kojak.
Yeah, no, she is Kojak, literally. She's like a cross between like a Kojak and like a sexy secretary or something with the glasses, or not secretary, but librarian sort of.
Yeah, I know the look. Yeah, like Quistis from FF8.
Yeah, and
literally the hot librarian look.
Yeah,
they do look quite similar. It has to be said.
Yeah,
apart from the orange versus black.
Yeah, that's true.
And she has got that brilliant thing whereby she dual wields pistols, but she's also got pistols for for what?
Well, yeah, not chins. I don't have a gun chin. There we go, a new podcast name, Gun Chin. Guns de Menton. No, I said shins, but
for like heels, basically.
Yeah.
Heels on her shoes, which aren't that useful really. I mean, you have to some of the combos you can transition into a kind of shooty thing, which is good against like really weak airborne enemies and stuff. But heavily boss fighty. Like, it's not like a level with a bunch of enemies and stuff, and then at the end there's a boss. Like, so far I've been playing it, and it's like you walk down a corridor or something, and then there's a mini boss fight or something, and a bunch of enemies, and then you literally have only walked into the next room, and it's another boss fight, just a bigger one. And like some levels so far are just a stream of boss fights, and that's all it is. Which is
but they're quite the highlights of those games, though, aren't they? Because let's be honest, if there are lots of minions, most of them can be beaten down by mashing the keypad with your palm now, and it's
Well, that's the thing. I mean, the dodging thing means that you can't just you can wail on them, but there's always going to be another one coming up behind you or something that you're going to have to dodge at some point. Even though he makes it fairly obvious by swinging his thing in the air that he's going to attack you, you do have to dodge rather than carrying on wailing on the other guy. Whereas with the bosses, it's more traditional, like they're right in front of you. You don't have to be so aware in 3D space because the boss will be in front of you.
Yeah.
You just have to dodge at the right moment or like avoid. You know how bosses work.
It's weird. A bit of me has always sort of been intrigued by a game of this type, but the sort of hack and slash nature of it sort of strikes me a bit as this will get tedious quite quickly. And maybe the more modern ones, like for instance, I haven't played any of the God of Wars, and I haven't played. I haven't actually played any of them since Devil May Cry 1, really, to any lengthy degree. And I got kind of the same effect with that. I kind of got bored of Devil May Cry. And I like how I said it like he was Scottish there. Devil May Cry. Devil May Cry Rally. It's... But I got to say, I watched the review of God of War 3. And picking up on your point earlier about, it was nice that they gave you an in because it's a new franchise and stuff. I have to admit, God of War, some of it just looks incredible. The concept of the Titan fights, although it's like, I'm aware that it's like the minority of the game, but I just want to see it in action for myself. Yeah. And because the concept just seems so amazing.
It does sound pretty incredible. I mean, it seems
that would be down lagging out again.
Oh, sorry.
Back up. It
seems like the key with these games is once you get the mechanics down pat and stuff, that it's just making it as ridiculously massive and enormous as possible, just making things falling out of the sky and so you're like you can barely see your character because he's so small next to the boss and stuff like that.
My next question would be, I suppose, is are the boss fights University Challenge, are the boss fights actually clever in the sense that you have to fight each one with enough variation that they stay interesting and they don't rely on quick time events? Not that I have a problem with quick time events, but
so far I've had a few variations on like one mini boss basically.
I don't think that was a dog. I know what you're talking about.
I think it's just because you're not talking and your gain made the feedback come back.
But I think they're going to get more and more ridiculous. But so far they've been quite varied, actually. But I think that may be because I've just started the game, and I think like there's already been a repetition of bosses just getting slightly different or slightly bigger.
I heard they sort of. I've heard that at one point in the game you start seeing bosses as regular minions, so they start they start populating the levels like the guys you could kill in seconds.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if like the first like mini boss guy with who swings the big axe thing, who is a boss.
Like, he was in the demo.
Yeah, that guy. I wouldn't be surprised if the like whole levels were populated by sort of tons of those by the point, because you get so good at killing those, I expect. But
what was it? Was it? I don't think I'm thinking of Metroid per se, although that does do it. That you see the occasional thing that starts out like a boss, and and then you start fighting more of them as you progress. I'm sort of thinking of those ice buggers. That sort of start like a cutscene, and then you have to face more of them later. I'm not sure I'm thinking of those, but it's not uncommon, is it, nowadays, to sort of do things like that? Because I suppose you get more powerful as the game goes on, and then you can sort of feel smug as you beat down something that was hard before.
That's true. I'm not sure yet with Bayonetta how much the upgrades, how much difference they're really going to make, like to your power. I presume you're going to get quite a lot more powerful as the game goes through, but it might be one of those games where you just have to get better at it.
Again, not a bad thing because it's actually got a traditional difficulty curve.
Yeah, well, it's a very video game, which is good.
Now that you've brought that up, that is a big problem with Bioshock, in that you can, if you're thorough, the end of the game is seriously easy.
Yeah, it's quite hard to begin with as well, isn't it?
Well, yeah, the first big daddy fight is pretty tough.
Yeah,
I tend to play without the Vita chambers on as well because I find that concept crap. So I turned all that off, and the Big Daddy fight was actually pretty tough, the first one, and they still they stay tough throughout the game because the Big Daddies get harder as you go through the game. But the end boss was actually pretty simple, I found.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess that's not really a strength of the game. Really, it's more in the story there rather than the final boss being. That's one thing about Mass Effect 2 actually, was that it had it was fine, but it had a fairly lame final boss. Considering how amazing the game was, that was you could argue that was a weak point, I think, because it was the culmination of a really cool final mission, because it's labeled as I don't know, would go into Mass Effect, but wow, it gets loud, doesn't it, when Zach doesn't talk?
Yeah, my game must be doing something. I'm sure I've got that turned off, unless it's actually in TeamSpeak it's doing that.
It's probably in TeamSpeak, yeah.
Oh, I was about to say, in theory, my so then should have been quite loud.
Yeah.
No, I don't think it was. Didn't you turn the auto gain off though?
I
You
had
turn it back on.
it back on because it sounded worse.
Yeah.
Well, who knows? Obviously, this is still work in progress as far as recording goes.
Have you done Eaton, Zeg?
Yeah, I told you. I came back and said lack of.
Isn't that a place?
That was pretty fast.
Dunedin.
Done Eaton. Done Eaton. Let's all go to Dunedin.
No. It wasn't much of a food. It was like.
It's not a food. It's a.
It was like croutons and some bits of meat and then some small quantities of mushrooms on salad. And it was like, that's not a meal, that's an appetizer.
After this appetizer, I shall have this appetizer.
No, it was in fact a meal. It was okay. I'll probably.
Was it supposed to be?
I don't know. I have no idea what it actually was. I don't know what the flavour was. I don't know what the meat was. Here's some food. Eat this. It's one of my traditional dad's cooking experiments. Here's a recipe I found somewhere. Make this.
It was horse, wasn't it?
I'm not going to deny that because I don't actually know.
I cannot deny or confirm such accusations.
It could well be horse, but we just don't know.
With a horse.
Do you guys have any questions about Mass Effect, by the way? Because I did play through all of that, and I think
I sort of
got into the original.
I do, but I don't want to ask them.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, you've got
Like, spoilers.
plot-related questions.
Yeah, and I've had a few.
See too much.
Yeah, I've got a guy at work who's pretty enthusiastic about it, and he's already played through and finished it, and he's hard. He has to hold himself back from dropping little spoilers, like probing Uranus, and it's.
That sentence was going well at the start. I have a guy at work who's pretty.
Did I say that?
Yes. And then you paused after you said pretty.
He's pretty. Yeah.
I don't know if it's not really that. I don't know how I could really. I'm not going to obviously say anything, but to spoil it. But I don't know. It's not like a super spoiler heavy kind of game. I mean, do you know what?
It's actually as boring as it is, as it's meant to be.
Yeah, it is. But my tactic is to. I quite enjoy it in a kind of mind-numbing way. But what I do is I play the giant bombcast at the same time. So if you're listening to this podcast,
that's why you do it.
Yeah, just listen to a podcast while you're doing it.
It's like, that's always my problem when I'm listening to the bombcast, is like, what am I going to do while I'm listening to the bombcast?
Yeah.
I can't do anything that actually requires very much concentration.
Yeah.
I don't want to just be sitting here.
So to be honest, it's absolutely perfect for doing something like that, because you are actually doing something that will help you in the long run. Because like mining the minerals, I mean, it is boring, but like it's sort of fun at the same time. In a weird way. I mean, you probably have to play it, but like, it's like, do you know how it works? Like, you move like you move your you zoom into the planet, right? A normal planet that isn't one of your places where you can land, you know, and instead of landing on it, you have like a cursor that you can move across the surface, and you can spin the planet round using the right stick, and you can move this cursor slowly. When you're scanning across the surface, and you scan by holding down the right trigger, and it makes this whir sound, right? And then you get a little meter on the side that shows you what minerals minerals are below your cursor, so usually there's nothing, but it'll spike up when there appears something, and also your controller will vibrate like more when you get closer, so it's a bit like sort of warmer, hotter, yeah.
Okay.
So, and then when you find a spot, you hang on, you hold down the left trigger to scan, and then you fire a probe using the right trigger, and then when you fire the probe onto that spot, then you get whatever minerals were at that point. And there's about 4 different minerals, and one of them is quite rare, like element 0, which is used for some of the more hardcore weapons and stuff. So, I mean, the thing is, you don't have to do it that much, because like you pick up these minerals in crates while you're going through the game. Like that's pretty much all that's in crates these days, like money and these minerals, because it used to be you used to get items like a standard RPG, but now they've streamlined it so you don't get any loot in.
And the standard of crates these days, it's just
yeah, you just
times are hard. They just put random materials in them now. They can't just. Actually, to be fair, you've hit a point there. It's like what did I say? To be fair, that makes no sense in that context. But Zach said you just hit him with a hammer and a chest opens. It's like they're pretty poorly constructed chests that you can just kick open, like the ones in Lost Odyssey. You just like
or in Zelda, where you
Zelda.
kick them.
The little ones you kick open, don't you?
It's actually kind of cool, because it's like, this chest is so tiny you can't bend down to open it, so you just kick it.
How does that work with the big Link? Because like even you kick it even when you're child Link, don't you? The little ones. So that must be quite hard to kick when you're like, I can't see the animation.
It does look kind of dumb. It's because it's like you kick it, but then you'd still have to imagine that you'd have to bend down to pick whatever is in there, but he just turns around and it appears.
Yeah.
Everything hovers out of chests.
Yeah, everything magically hovers out of the
have
chest.
anti-gravity inside them that repels whatever's in them into the air immediately to your chest height so you can grab it.
and when you lift it above your head.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the residual.
So it should make. Because that's what anti-grav is. It's a spring-like sound.
They should really mod it so that like there should be a mod for TF2 that makes it make that sound whenever you like get an item.
There probably is.
I wouldn't be surprised if there was one. Yeah, so,
I may have heard that as a mod for like the kill sound or the domination sound.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. And then it plays in reverse when they when you lose it.
That would actually be funny.
what's the death sound in Zelda? I don't know. Is there one? Yeah.
But there's that weird noise that you get when you fall into a bottomless pit where it goes. No, not the scream sound.
No, okay.
The weird whooshy noise that it makes.
Yeah.
I know the one you mean. No. It's like do.
Dingo.
That is, of course, for those of you who don't know, from
Time announcement in Majora's Mask, where it sounds like someone saying dingo.
Dingo twice.
Dingo.
So classic. Oh.
Somebody wants to talk about the Blur beta, but at the same time, we're probably hitting the 2-hour mark now.
Have you played?
Coming up to it.
Of course, you can see the timestamp. I can't for some reason. For some reason, I've got the crappy recorder on this thing. It means I push record, and it doesn't tell me when I pushed record, but it tells everyone else.
Oh, okay.
Well, we've got about 20 minutes before we hit 2 hours.
Yeah, we've got 20 minutes.
Alright.
That's enough for the Blur. Have you played this then, the Blur beta?
Yeah, I think it's actually pretty sweet.
Oh, I've heard good things. Yeah.
It is good. Moving on. No. No. It is good. If it's very floaty, but people were trying to compare the handling to Project Gotham, but it isn't really. It's actually very much like Burnout.
Okay.
Without some of the drifting mechanics. Like drifting actually does slow you down, like it probably would.
That's good. Because
So
you can't really turn. I mean, it seems
No.
for driving game, but you don't really turn it.
No, turning isn't You turn more in Blur, but it's still not. It's still quite heavy. It's not like you can.
Okay.
It's not like Grand Theft Auto steering, or or anything you'd expect from like a proper racing game, shall we say?
Yeah.
You still don't turn that much, but you turn more than Burnout. But
Okay.
it's like the one thing it's missing, if I'm honest, is Burnout style crashes. I mean, although you're throwing, the sort of how everything, when in Burnout, when you hit someone out, they dramatically flip out and stuff like that. In Blur, you flip out as the result of getting hit by a power up or something like that, but it's usually in a controlled manner. So it doesn't screw you up quite so badly. It's like the Mario Kart effect, like when you hit a banana skin.
You did the air for no apparent reason, and then land back on the right way up. And just
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. So, did you ever play the original?
Down.
Yeah. Did you ever play the original Daytona, where every crash would result like that in a sort of ridiculously bouncy fashion?
Every time.
Yeah. It's a bit like that, but not quite so scripted. Certain weapons cause more of a physics effect rather than a pre-scripted sort of like that effect. Like the bolts are cool. They're like the green shells, but instead of like causing you to tard out, they push you off target slightly. Just enough to make you swerve, possibly into something nasty.
Okay. And do they get you out of the way if you're trying to overtake?
Yeah, they're good if you're on the inside of a corner and you hit them on the inside of their car, because it pushes them out to the side into the wall and stuff, and can really screw up their corner, which is neat.
Awesome.
And it's the one thing the one thing I don't really like is that it's not massively visually impressive. Like
Really?
the worlds, strangely, some of the levels in the beta look kind of bland, and like the city levels especially, they don't look that great. I mean, it's nice that they're all in Twilight, but I don't know, there's something not that great about them. PGR looks better, and
Strange.
so yeah, visually I'm not sure it's quite up there. The cars still look good and the effects are quite nice, but
It's strange because PGR's been kind of outdone by like Forza 3 lately in terms of graphics, because they really upped their game, didn't they?
oh yeah, Forza 3 is shit, but it's
But you think they concentrate quite hard on the graphics, what with all their sort of power-ups and stuff?
yeah, I suppose they're more worried about,
bizarre.
because it's designed as a multiplayer game, that they don't want anything screwing the frame rate up.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
So I don't mind that there's a slight loss in fidelity, because the frame rate does keep up, and also has this weird concept of crashing, though, in that some collisions it considers bad enough to automatically replace you on the track. Sometimes that's a little heavy-handed.
Right.
But
It is a beta.
Yeah, admittedly, but at the moment it's a bit heavy-handed, I'd say. But it's like if you accidentally take the middle route when there's only left and right routes. It's you sort of hit the central division and you stop dead, for instance, and you get mashed up a bit.
Right.
It considers that bad enough to replace you, which is usually fine. But sometimes in the heat of battle, you can get shoved into the side of the track, for instance, by a power-up. And then it will replace you, and you sort of think, oh, actually, that was a bit harsh.
Right, you should have slid down the wall rather.
Yeah, you sort of ground off the wall. Admittedly, you hit the wall hard, but you sort of grind off it, and you're still sort of going in the right direction, and you don't really think, yeah, that wasn't really necessary. And then you're sort of out of the fight a little bit.
So is it more like, would you say it's more like, in terms of the power-ups, would you say it's more like Mario Kart or like Wipeout?
That's a tough one, really. It's probably more like Mario Kart, actually, because you get things that there is an equivalent to the blue shell.
Right, yeah.
Let's put it that way, but it's not quite so mean, in that it fires like an EMP zone in front of the leader, and they have to dodge it. Essentially, they can dodge it because they're just fixed points on the track, but they're quite large fixed points.
Okay.
And it only stops you from having, like, you lose power for like a second, so it slows you down a little bit. So they're not harsh.
Okay. Could that affect someone who is just trailing the leader?
Yeah, exactly. The people in second place can get hit, and if you're too close to the lead, you can actually mess yourself up. They do have the desired effect of bunching the crowd.
What was that?
Is that like Zach's equivalent of tumbleweed?
The trouble is that if I don't say anything, it gets louder, but then I don't want to say anything, so I'm interrupting. But then the train interrupts even worse.
Well, maybe you should talk about your impressions of a game you haven't played yet.
Yeah, I'll make shit up here.
It's like gut reaction to a game. You know, everyone has gut reactions to games they haven't played, you know.
I mean, do you know anything about Blur, Zach?
I know something when I saw like a couple of bits of video. Although I'm fairly sure I saw a headline on some gaming site somewhere that said, it's like Mario Kart, but with no blue shell, and then Rob comes along and says, actually there's apparently it's like a blue shell. It's like...
It is specifically designed to mess up the leader, so and it is blue in colour, so it's hard not to draw similarities. Yeah.
I know. I think that EMP thing sounds quite good actually.
It's not nearly as harsh as the blue shell. The blue shell is just mean, but
yeah.
Because it didn't just screw you up a little bit, did you? No, it didn't even just red shell you. It threw you into the air, so you're seconds out of action, which is really harsh.
And you come to a full stop as well.
Yeah, so you have to accelerate as well, and yeah, not so great. It's good. I'm a little bit. The sound design is great as well, but it's a bit. It's like a movie sound system, so like it's all kind of fuzzy and I don't mean fuzzy in a bad way, like the quality is bad, but in a sort of everything's a bit grimy, you know, like the sounds like some of it sounds like it's been ripped out of Star Wars. Some of the effects of things flying past, like bolts, for instance, the sort of shovey green shell equivalent, sort of goes sort of with this sort of wibbly sort of gated effect as it flies past, which sounds really cool, but everything's kind of grungy and sort of electrical sounding. It's like it's hard to describe.
Obviously,
but
what we're hoping for is that these sound effects are in WAV so we can replace them.
Yeah, it's weirdly oppressive. Is the what I'd use. They're not light and edgy. They're sort of quite heavy sounding. Although some of them do have neat effects, like when you fire the red shell equivalent, it sort of the effect of firing it kind of dulls the rest of the sound out for a bit. To sort of suggest that it's a big deal.
I quite like that. Like that in that, you know, Star Wars Episode 2, that sound design I always thought was quite good. Terrible film, but I always thought that was really cool, the way that, you know, those mines.
Sonic mines in space.
Yeah, it
was awesome.
Well, they were cool. They were good in the cinema. But the way the sounds beforehand, that was cool about them. Yeah. So
they had the best sound effect.
Well, because it's licensed cars, isn't it? But why? I mean, what gets me is that, like,
it doesn't need them.
No, it could be like Burnout, where they like just cars that look like cars. You know, look real but aren't. I mean, that would be fine. I would have thought, wouldn't you?
It doesn't need them, but there's there's a certain coolness in using predefined cars design, because you kind of get the variety and you don't end up. Because the problem with Burnout cars is they all kind of end up looking like the same. Pulling them apart actually gets a bit difficult until you get like the crazy ass ones at the end.
Well, they were quite good, I thought, in good old Burnout 3. They were quite. I mean, I guess they would kind of look the same in the same class, didn't they?
Oh yeah, they were usually just slight reskins, weren't they? Like and they kind of got repeated, but with a bit more aggressive body kit attached to them.
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
In fact, the PlayStation version of Burnout 3, you know, the PS2 version, actually probably did a better job because some of the cars didn't have textures because it went wrong. And
that was one that was
Dominator cars
were meant to be flamey, weren't they?
Yeah, and they just didn't get flamey, so you could sort of tell them apart.
That doesn't actually make very much difference because I mean,
no, I guess not.
Like primary colours or whatever.
I always remember the PlayStation 2 version. The PlayStation 2 version of that game, like the sparks were like just massive compared to the
that's true.
Xbox version.
That was
crazy.
I always thought that the aliasing on the Xbox version was a bit heavy because it made the headlights of oncoming cars just kind of a bit blurred into the what was going on, and I found it even more difficult to dodge them.
No, it was quite hard to see them coming.
Yeah. I mean, it was hard enough in the PS2 version, but everything was a bit sharper because of the lack of anti-aliasing.
Yeah, but it was all SD back at the time as well.
Yeah.
I mean, it'd be easier to dodge them now, I guess. But that was a great game. I really liked Burnout 3.
I still think Burnout Revenge on the 360 was the best.
Really?
It was good. Yeah, no, I think that was brilliant.
I prefer Burnout 3 to Burnout Revenge.
think it had a good online system as well, which is what made it for the online in Revenge is pretty well done. Like, to be honest, I haven't actually touched Paradise because I wasn't that impressed by the demo. So
No, well, the
Well,
demo's
it was actually
honestly bad.
free-roaming shit that just looked weird. Like,
Yeah,
park somewhere and then start a race, and then you don't have a track, so it's like you have to be looking at the map to try and work out where the fuck you're going.
my concern is that there was less interaction with the other drivers.
That also.
I mean,
Like, if you were taking a route that wasn't the default route, you were never going to see anyone.
It's true. I played the demo and I didn't like it, but then I saw a lot of stuff on the internet saying, "Oh, the demo's not very good compared to the full game." But I did actually rent the full game at one point, and I never my impressions. Sorry,
Lag. Did you have lag when it happens?
has it gone now?
Lag. Yeah, you're back.
Yeah, I was just saying that I rented the actual game of Burnout Paradise and I never got into it, so it's not just a demo, I don't think. But a lot of people really like it, so. And you can get it on PC as well. You can probably get it on Steam really cheap, actually, Rob.
It's not that cheap because they keep releasing replacing the old versions of it with the bundle boxes because they type loudly. Because
The hell? I entered the search term and it just put me back on the front page again. That's not helpful.
are you browsing?
It's going to see how much Burnout costs, just so we can confirm this fact.
Oh, on Steam. Okay.
You ever seen that program on BBC called Great Unanswered Questions?
No.
It's like
I saw one.
I can't remember who the host is, but they usually have a guest, some smart dude who's I find quite annoying, and this bloke. But I can't remember the name of him. But he sits in this giant. He sits in this giant sort of chair that's made of like a basket, and there's all kinds of lights around him, and he basically has a laptop in front, and any of the questions that come up, he tries to confirm using the internet, and
Man and Wikipedia.
yeah, he's a typical man of the internet, shall we say? Yeah, that he's quite big, has glasses, and a ginormous beard. But best of all, he has a little button on the arm of the chair that when he pushes and plays this like guru sound effect, like to get attention from the other people who usually just keep talking unless he interrupts.
Okay.
That was funny. It's cause
So Zach is that man now.
the reason why I haven't seen it very much is because it's like BBC Northern Ireland or something.
Oh.
Yeah, I saw it on iPlayer and I was like, oh, that's weird.
Yeah, I did see it come up on iPlayer, and I didn't connect the location.
BBC Northern Ireland, their first guest was Dara Britton.
And Lucy Porter though, who I don't think is Irish.
No. Don't.
Okay, Burnout Paradise, the ultimate box, 20 quid.
When they say the ultimate box, is that actually the ultimate box, or is that the subsequent box that includes Big Surf Island?
That's a good question.
That's really bad marketing there. It's like, this is the ultimate box, and here's an add-on to it. It's like, no!
Yeah.
It does not define what is contained within the ultimate box. It says it brings together the best console racing game of 2008 with a host of new content. So it's very unspecific about what that new content is.
No, I'm not even sure the one they released last includes that Cops and Robbers update, because they added that, didn't they, at one point? And I can't remember if that was before or after Big Surf.
I wonder if that's any good, because that kind of harkens back to good old sort of Need for Speed Hot Pursuit.
Apparently, it is probably the only way to play it online. So I've heard. I sort of read somewhere that it is actually that good. You have to. It sort of takes over how you play Burnout.
So did you play the Blur beta? Are you playing that on PC?
Oh, Xbox. You just sign up on the website and you get a download code. Anyone can do it. Like, it's limited. Well, like, it's weird because I saw on Joystick that they had a competition to give away beta codes.
But you just got
6,500 beta codes they had, and I was like, okay, maybe it is fairly limited, and they've just got a competition to give them out, and this is how they're going to get the publicity for it. And it's like, no, you just go on the website, sign up, and then when you view your I found it a bit confusing, but you have to, once you've entered your details and you've registered on the site, you then go look at your own profile as if you were going to edit it, like you do on Facebook or whatever, and and there it says your beta redemption code, and it even gives you 48 hours of free live if you want it as well.
Maybe it helps that you're British or something. I don't know.
I think that always helps.
No, you know what I mean. Like,
Rob's the only British one here.
if one is British, I don't have to say one, do I?
Royal one.
Just
So,
asking for British.
if one is British, then one gets certain advantages in life.
Well, Bizarre are obviously English, so yeah.
Yeah, no,
Stick is talking to. Anyway, just speculating.
maybe it's limited in America because, I don't know, maybe they haven't finished off that version of the code, but I don't know, I don't understand their process.
Have you heard about this shooter called Brink? Have you heard about this?
No.
I saw a video for it the other day, and I had not heard anything about it, but it's from those guys that made Enemy Territory and subsequently, Quake Wars, Enemy Territory, Quake Wars. They're British. But anyway, it's this shooter. Yeah.
Oh, wait! It's not by the guy that made Black.
Oh, I heard about that as well. Maybe that's the same thing. Well, this is a very well-informed podcast going on here.
Good. Do you want me to search terms?
Yeah, please do.
Can you look up Brink for a sec?
Go man of internet.
It's like a shooter.
So now we have to wait for my internet to start. Okay, here it comes.
It's like
Get ready for the typing.
And single-player shooter, basically.
I love the suspense on us waiting for his IE to start. It's like, get ready for the internet. Here it comes.
I don't know why IE takes long to load when it's integrated into the shell of bloody Windows.
It sort of isn't anymore.
Oh, that's... Yeah,
It's still a separate process, but
that's true.
apparently they've, if we want to go techie, they've sort of decoupled it from Windows to a certain degree.
What, in the service packs?
Yeah, so things like Steam and stuff don't rely on it to get their info.
Splash damage, apparently. Whoever the fuck
Splash
splash damage is. Never heard of them. Published by Bethesda.
Yeah. Anyway, it's like this shooter thing. It's like multiplayer and single player, and you can earn experience in either, and they affect both sides or whatever. So you can earn experience in single player, and that will affect multiplayer. And the same with like guns and stuff and upgrades and things. And well, the thing that caught my eye was it has quite a cool like visual style, a bit slightly cartoony but fairly realistic. But it has like an almost Mirror's Edge like sort of movement system where you can like vault and like, duck under things and stuff in the environment, but coupled with a proper shooter.
Could be alright. Maybe they sort of saw Mirror's Edge and thought, you know what, this is fine apart from the combat, and then...
Yeah.
Which was true. And, let's say we can make something of this.
Yeah. Oh, I know how I got onto this, because I saw something where it was like a YouTube video of the trailer for it, but someone had dubbed over... all the Team Fortress sounds because they realised how much it looked like Team Fortress. Like
I am heavy weapons guy.
Yeah, it does look a lot like it's borrowed quite a bit from Team Fortress in some aspects, but
it's only ham.
Yeah, that sort of thing. It was quite funny, but
Oh man,
yeah.
This staff list page on the splash damage page has, of course, it has all of their nicknames or gamer tags in between their actual names. So you can have such hilariously named people as Arnie Olav Hallingstad, and his tag is AO. Imaginative.
He's thought long and hard about that one. It's not even that easy to say, is it? It's like, you're right.
How Oh, and Fabrice Bouvet, his nickname is Fab, with 3 A's.
Fab. No, Fab. The car.
Yeah, because when I saw like a developer interview, and they sounded quite foreign, despite the fact they were supposedly based in.
Well, it's got their flags next to their names. It looks like at least 50% English, and then a random selection of other places.
Okay.
Although it has split off England into, like, there's also separate flags for Scotland and Wales. So it is literally England.
Yeah. Because, like, actually, thinking back, one of the developers talking was painfully English in that he was talking about being a badass. You know, people say that.
And having tea on the veranda.
Yeah. Oh, you can upgrade your weapons to show how much of a badass you are.
Can one please show me the direction to your water closet?
Oh dear, it just sounded pretty dumb. But the movement did look pretty smooth, like first person sort of vaulting over stuff, combined with having a gun out at all times for shooting people. It looked quite interesting, especially in a multiplayer shooter kind of environment. Like Battlefield, where you can like really run over the environment. You can sort of parkour properly over the environment rather than sort of having to find your way around railings and ladders and stuff. It's quite a cool concept.
Jump onto things.
Yeah, exactly. It has like an action button which will do a jump or a vault depending on where you're looking. Like if you look up, it will vault over an arch or something, or if you look down, it'll do the dive thing. Yeah, not dive. Slide.
Yeah,
like in Mirror's Edge.
Slide.
Yeah. Which looked really cool because, like, in Mirror's Edge, obviously, you do the slide thing mostly, like, if you've got to get under an obstacle or something, but you're doing the run, right? But in this, if you do the slide thing, it looks really cool in the demo video that I was watching. He slides into cover, and it just looks like something you would naturally do if you were actually in a firefight. You would sort of dive into cover. And you don't really get that in games. You sort of run into cover, but you dive for cover.
To come full circle, I have to say that Uncharted does that pretty well. You do sort of.
Oh, does it?
If you're running towards something, you can push the cover button quite early, and he'll do a fairly realistic looking slide into it. Most of the time, that doesn't happen though, because you're like going from cover to cover, so you awkwardly stand up and then duck down again, which doesn't look quite right. It doesn't do transitions as well as Gears of War, for instance. Then again, Gears does it as well, doesn't it? You sort of go into the wall, don't you? In a sort of overly slidey fashion.
You run and stick,
in like the middle of your crouch animation, you kind of go onto the wall.
Yeah. Because Mass Effect 2 does the exact same thing. That's like the most Gears thing it does. I mean, it does copy the Gears combat, but the thing that goes, oh my god, Gears of War, is the way when you hold down A to run, and then if you're still holding it down when you get to one of that sort of chest-high cover stuff, you suck into it, just like you do in Gears. So that at the moment you do that, you think, okay, I know where I am, I'm just doing Gears of War, basically.
What was that? Oh, okay. It just sounded like it was playing music there for a second.
Except one thing about Mass Effect environments is that it's not they haven't quite got down quite as well as Gears of War, the hiding the fact that every single room you come into is full of chest-high walls.
Yeah.
It is obvious, but like they try and integrate it into the environment well, whereas in Mass Effect, if you come into a...
Lag.
Lag. Yeah. You go into a room, it's full of chest-high crates, and you know there's going to be an ambush immediately. You don't even have to worry about the fact that there's going to be an ambush, because you know there is, because there's a bunch of chest-high walls, and you know there's going to be combat. So you just run towards the wall, stick into it, and before you even got into cover, enemies have appeared, but they haven't really surprised you, because you've seen the boxes, so you know exactly what's going to happen.
I see what you mean. You kind of knew that with Mass Effect to a certain degree, well, the first Mass Effect, because every base and every bunker was exactly the same, so you knew, oh, this is the room where the fighting happens.
Well, at least it was that. Nowhere was the same.
There was never any environments that had... There was only one case in the original Mass Effect where there was really fighting in an environment where you didn't necessarily expect it, which was that first bit where you go into the doctor's office and then there's some punks there holding her up, and then you shoot them and Garrus comes to help you. That's the only time, because all the other times it's like you're either in a mission where it's like, okay, there's definitely going to be shooting because this is the bit where we go shoot people, or you're on a planet and then you come to one of those stupid reinforced bunker things and then you go into it and it's like, now there's going to be shooting because we're in an environment where I can shoot things.
Yeah.
Very rarely one of those sections where there isn't a shoot, some sort of shot fired, is there? You get the occasional one that's just the hostage situation, but...
I don't know, that kind of stuff.
There's kind of one where you're on the biotic planet where you go in and they're all peaceful to start with, but then if you piss them off you have to shoot your way back out. I guess that's one case where there's the correct environments for shooting but not actually shooting. Silence.
They really have fixed it all, though. The whole like identical areas, like there's no identical areas in Mass Effect 2. I mean, I say that there are. I think there might be one or two of those sort of freighter ships, you know, from the original game that you occasionally
you find
like
a ship in
dock
space.
with. Yeah.
Like you go into their weird cargo hold where it's like, why is there all this cargo just scattered around all over the place?
How did it even get in there? The doors don't seem big enough to put that sort of cargo in.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I think there might be a couple of those in the sequel, but I think they might all just be a completely different design. Like, there's amazing little set piece, like 10-minute missions in Mass Effect 2 where you're just wandering around and you're doing the planet scan, and occasionally when you're doing the scan, you'll find a mission on a planet. What happens is if you start to scan a planet that has a mission on, then it flags it up, so you can't miss them.
Okay, that's good.
So you just has like an arrow that points to where it is, and then you fire a probe into it. It's like a distress call that you're homing in on the planet's surface, and you go down there, and they're little 10-minute missions that are all different and all have, like, there was this brilliant one where you beam down. You fly down. You don't have a beaming. It's not Star Trek. So, and you're just there's not even any shooting. You're on a huge crashed ship that's on the edge of a cliff, and it's about to fall off, and you have to like make your way through the interior of it, almost Half-Life like almost, except of course third person, as it's like teetering on the edge, and you make your way down and get the data out of the computer and fly out of there before it falls off the cliff. And it's only like a little sequence, but somebody designed that whole level, just for you finding it on that planet. It's not like a cookie cutter, little base, like in the original game, which is really cool.
That does sound good.
Yeah.
I'm a bit disappointed that they've taken the weird route with the DLC again. Like, when they released Bring Down the Sky for Mass Effect 1, this short little extra mini campaign to add to it. They've done it again in Mass Effect 2, and that there's the new DLC is about 90 minutes long, or several pounds. It's 800 Microsoft points, however much that, it's probably about that, isn't it? So the sort of £6.5-7 region, and it's like for an hour and a half of gameplay, that just reeks of horrible rip.
Yeah, I mean, considering the value for money of the actual package of the actual game, that is pretty horrendous. Although you do get a completely new gameplay mode gameplay element in the DLC this time around, because you get the vehicle, which doesn't exist in the game.
Yeah, true. Does the first DLC actually include that? Because I knew it was coming, but I didn't think it's in this first set.
I think so. Firewalker, isn't it, or something? I don't know what it's called, but I think it does include the vehicle. I'm not sure though, but the vehicle, actually, I've seen screenshots. It does look pretty cool because it's like a sort of hover tank, so it looks like it will control, in an actual cool way rather than
a bit more floaty, a bit like the ghosts you mean from Halo, probably.
Yeah, a bit like the ghost from Halo. Yeah, so that could be interesting. Not sure, but I mean, the game did fine without vehicle sections, I thought, but
yeah, because I didn't mind them too much, but it was just it got a bit boring after a while. The Mako, there was no real sort of fun element to it particularly. They were fine, but didn't really add to the game too much. It's kind of cool landing on the moon and going for a quick jolly, but
I mean, what it added was more sort of the sense of atmosphere and sort of size. That's what it added.
Yeah, I suppose you're right.
Yeah, because if you're just going down to a bunch of corridors each time, then the world might not feel so big. But somehow Mass Effect 2 manages to
feel big. Yeah. It might have been better if they hadn't have limited you to those little areas quite so much. Make it feel a bit more like the planet was round, or I don't know. It's weird that those operational areas sort of, and sometimes on planets where you haven't heard anything about, and you just go land, and it's like, we've got an operational area. Screw the rest of the planet. This is the interesting bit somehow.
Oh yeah, no sense, but I mean, I don't know what else they could have done.
No, admittedly, to keep it in the sort of semi-realistic vibe. There's also the fact that the planet graphics were just generally not that great. They were pretty bland.
Yeah.
And jaggedy.
Yeah, the Terran ones didn't look so bad, but the sort of rocky ones sort of went a bit, we've generated this totally randomly.
Well, yeah, they were all obviously procedurally generated. I thought it was actually quite clever how different some of them looked, and considering all the rock, all the actual geometry was like, I mean, obviously they were different geometry, but they were the same style, you know. But the way that the skies looked quite different, and the weather and stuff, I thought that was actually quite cool.
Nearest the stars or whatever. That was kind of decent.
Yeah.
There was like that
cool.
awesome planet that was really close to a red giant, so you could like turn around and it'd be filling the sky. That was awesome.
That kind of stuff is cool. Yeah. Like
no one cares.
Well, we need to talk anyway. We're definitely over 2 hours now.
Yeah, we're over the time now. I think we should talk about Mass Effect 2 next time, because I've got quite a lot to talk about that. And I think
to be honest, if we continue to play the same games, because it's not like we have to rapidly play through games and then move on to something else. So
no.
We have topics to talk about anyway. So
Yeah, we don't have the lifestyles to cover them solely, do we? And if these 2 hour segments are going to get considerably more varied, I think.
yeah.
But we've still got, as I say, we've still got a lot to go through. Like, as I say, you've got Mass Effect 2 to cover. I want to do Explosion Man at some point because it's all kinds of awesome. And
stop talking about it. Stop.
I'm going to leave it at that. And there's Perfect Dark, which got released on XBLA this week.
Do I get to play that tomorrow then?
I haven't bought it, but I tried the demo just to see what it's like, and you get the first mission. But blah 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 blah. But yeah, that's next time.
Okay, so I'm gonna wrap it up, as
Somehow.
else would probably say.
Make up some kind of ending.
So, do we have to make up an ending thing?
Do we need a song?
Oh look, we haven't got any emails. Okay, well that's it for the Saladcast, the first inaugural first ever Saladcast. So I hope you enjoyed it. Check back next time.
That was smooth.
Yep.
That was a pretty slick ending. Yeah, I better stop this recording now.